Welcome to my channel, 6-Path Weeb. Today's topic, what if Naruko abandoned Team 7? Disclaimer, the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's proceed. Naruto, you can open your eyes now, Umino Iruka said gently. Uzumaki Naruto opened her eyes. She was a petite girl with a slender figure, straight blonde hair reaching the middle of her back, and striking blue eyes. Her face featured delicate, aristocratic lines that could have made her stunning if not for the 3 whisker-like birthmarks on each cheek. These marks gave her an either fierce or adorable appearance, depending on her expression. However, her bright orange jumpsuit completely undermined any semblance of elegance. She reached up and felt where Iruka had placed the headband with the Leaf Village insignia. Congratulations, you're now a Genin. Naruto had failed the Genin exam for the 3rd time, primarily due to her inability to perform the clone technique, compounded by her poor written test scores and average performance in other subjects. Mizuki-sensei had offered her a makeup test, which turned out to be a ruse to steal the forbidden scroll and blame her for it. Mizuki had revealed that everyone hated her because she had the Kyubi no Kitsune sealed inside her. However, Iruka had shown true friendship by passing her after she defeated Mizuki using the shadow clone technique she had learned from the scroll. She was jolted from her thoughts by the sound of clapping. She turned to see a young boy with red hair and an androgynous blonde, both dressed in black cloaks adorned with red clouds. That was impressive, said the blonde in a tenor voice. Suborning Orochimaru's associate has yielded results, said the redhead. The Kyubi is here alone with just a weakened Chonin. I'm not the Kyubi, Naruto shouted. I don't care, said the boy. You're coming with us. Deidara, show us. Of course, I'd be happy to share my art. Art is a blast. The blonde threw a small clay bird into the air, which exploded. He then tossed several small birds that landed on and around Naruto and Iruka. Naruto started to swat at the birds, but the redhead warned, I wouldn't do that if I were you. If I come with you, will you leave Iruka alone? She asked hesitantly. Yes, we'll let him live, but only if you come, the redhead replied. Naruto, you can't. Iruka began. Iruka-sensei, nobody will miss me if I'm gone, but I can't let someone who has acknowledged me die. I'll miss you, her teacher whispered. She dropped the forbidden scroll and said, I'm just moving him to safety. She formed 2 shadow clones. One picked up the scroll, and the other lifted Iruka onto her shoulder and dragged him away. How do we know you're the real one? Asked the redhead. Naruto took a kunai from her pouch and slashed her forearm, which started to bleed. A shadow clone would have dispersed. I'll come quietly if you let him go, but if you don't, I'll flood this forest with hundreds of shadow clones, and you'll have to find me. Very well, said the redhead. We don't care about him anyway. He approached her and injected her with a knife coated in a suspicious-looking substance. A few seconds later, she lost consciousness. Naruto woke up after an indeterminate amount of time. She was alone in a room with a wash basin, a chamber pot, a tray with a bowl and cup, and a cot. There were no windows and only one door. Oddly, she had memories of dragging Iruka until they were met by the Hokage and some Anbu. She and Iruka had recounted what had happened, and she identified the blonde and the redhead from a book the Hokage referred to as the Bingo Book, Deidara and Akasuna no Sasori, missing Nin from Iwa and Suna, respectively. The Hokage had told her that they would come for her, but if she managed to escape, she should create a clone and have it remember what had happened so her clone in captivity would know. Then he had instructed one of her clones to disperse. She realized she was recalling what the clone had experienced. She deduced that the other clone must still be in Konoha because she did not have any other unusual memories. She hoped this meant she had not been gone too long. She scrutinized her appearance, noting she was still attired as before but now adorned with a metal cuff on her right wrist, inscribed with what appeared to be a seal. Additionally, she observed that all her shinobi tools were missing. Attempting to create a shadow clone, she found her chakra unresponsive, with the cuff warming slightly as she tried. Approaching the door, she discovered it was locked. Inside the room, a bowl of miso soup and a cup of water were provided. Consuming them left her feeling somewhat better, though still hungry and craving ramen. She returned to the cot, contemplating her next move. Naruto's daydream about ramen was interrupted by the door opening. A peculiar figure entered, resembling a man but appearing as a poorly constructed doll, split into black and white halves, with leafy green hair and a sparse leaf skirt on the black side. Who are you? She inquired. I am called Zetsu, he responded in a deep voice, approaching her. You feel like Kasan. Why does your chakra resemble my mother's? Who is your mother? Naruto asked. Otsutsuki Kaguya Hime, the rabbit goddess. Naruto had never heard of such a person or deity but considered using this information to her advantage. If you remove this cuff, you'll be able to examine my chakra more closely, she suggested, aware it was a gamble. Such tactics typically succeed only in novels and manga. He nodded and moved closer. She's attempting to deceive us, Zetsu said in a higher voice. I know, the deeper voice replied, but I need to investigate this. Besides, she's a novice Shanan who recently discovered she's a Jinchuriki. What could she possibly do? Zetsu grasped the cuff and channeled chakra into it. The cuff unlocked, allowing her to sense her chakra more clearly. Behave, or it goes back on, the deeper voice warned. Holding her wrist, Zetsu began channeling chakra into her. She felt her chakra respond. Her chakra isn't Kasan's, the deeper voice observed, but there's an element that feels like Kasan's. This aspect has attracted some of the residual chakra Kasan left in the world. Experimenting, Naruto tugged on Zetsu's chakra with her own. It was similar to hers but tainted with darkness. She wondered if she could purify it and focused on her untainted chakra. What are you doing? Asked the high-voiced Zetsu. Stop that, the deep voice added. Ignoring them, she accelerated the absorption and purification of Zetsu's chakra. She began to feel warmer as Zetsu tried to pull away. When that failed, Zetsu's black half started to ooze over her hand. She felt compelled to continue. Zetsu's white fist struck her, initially causing pain, but as she drained him, the blows weakened. She felt increasingly hot as Zetsu shriveled into a husk. When she finished, Zetsu disintegrated into dust, leaving her feverish and bloated. Struggling to contain her chakra, she eventually lost control, and her chakra erupted from her. When Naruto regained consciousness, she surveyed her surroundings. The walls were marred with cracks, and the door was barely hanging on its hinges. Her clothes had been shredded by the explosive release of her chakra. Her skin appeared noticeably paler, and a lock of her hair, now a stark white, caught her eye. As she stood, she noticed an unusual heaviness in her head. Reaching up, she felt two hard protrusions on the top of her head. She grimaced, finding the changes in her hair and skin manageable, but the new additions to her head made her feel less human. Leaving the room, she cautiously began to explore her surroundings. It appeared to be a small hideout with a central area for cooking and dining, and 4 side rooms, one of which had served as her cell. Fortunately, she was alone, likely guarded only by that strange Zetsu creature. In her exploration, she found clothes in what must have been the redhead's room and recovered her ninja tools. A mirror in the blonde's room revealed that her transformation included her now pale blue eyes, reminiscent of her classmate Hinata's. The horn-like protrusions on her head were a light brown, vaguely resembling rabbit ears. Reflecting on Zetsu's comment about her resemblance to the rabbit goddess Kaguya, she wondered if there was a connection. Additionally, she noticed a faint vertical line in the center of her forehead, which felt like a crease. Poking it revealed a slight give in the area, unlike the rest of her forehead, so she decided to leave it alone for the time being. After gathering food and other useful items, she left the hideout through a cave entrance, finding herself in a forest without clear trails. She followed a small river downstream until she reached a village. Approaching a middle-aged woman, she asked, "Excuse me, ma'am, but I got lost in the woods. Can you tell me where I am?" "This is Kashiwa no Sato, Hyuga-san." "I'm not a Hyuga," Naruto said absently, unfamiliar with the village. "Oh, my apologies, miss. Your eyes, from the stories I've heard." "It's a common mistake, ma'am," she replied. "I don't mind, but Hyuga have dark hair. Is your village in Hai no Kuni?" "No, this is Kawa no Kuni. You must be really lost." "Thank you, ma'am." As Naruto walked away, she quickly strategized. Kawa no Kuni was situated between Hai no Kuni and Kaze no Kuni. To return to Konoha, she needed to head east. Orienting herself by the mid-morning sun, she started walking. A few minutes out of town, she created a shadow clone and instructed it to remember her location and that she was moving east from Kashiwa no Sato and Kawa no Kuni. The clone then dispelled. She moved into the forest, jogging parallel to the road about 50 meters away. After a few minutes, she received new memories from a dispersing clone. The Hokage had her remaining clone in Konoha create and disperse a clone to send her a message. He instructed her to head for the border and wait at a border station if she could find one. He suggested she use the disguise technique to hide her appearance, impersonate a Hyuga due to her similar appearance, and keep her leaf badge visible to avoid being mistaken for a member of the Hyuga main family. Following his advice, she used the disguise technique to change her hair to black and conceal her horns and whisker marks before resuming her journey. Approximately 2 hours later, she discerned a clearing ahead. Upon closer inspection, she observed 2 booths along the road, presumably custom stations at the border. Although she considered surreptitiously crossing the border, she concluded it would be prudent to establish contact with Allied forces. Rejoining the road, she approached the stations. As she neared the first booth, a disinterested guard glanced up from his book and inquired, "Name and purpose of travel?" "Hyuga Naru, Janan of Kanahagakura no Sato, returning to Konoha after a personal visit to Suna," she replied, adhering to the Hokage's instructions relayed through her shadow clone. "Do you have anything to declare for customs?" he asked. "Nothing." He waved her through and resumed reading his book. She proceeded to the second booth, situated 20 yards away. The guards on the Hai no Kuni side appeared significantly more vigilant, partly due to the presence of a vaguely familiar Konoha shinobi among them. He had a bowl haircut, prominent eyebrows, and wore a green jumpsuit with orange leg warmers and a jounin flak jacket. A leaf badge adorned his belt. "Greetings, miss," said the lead guard. "May I have your name and purpose of travel?" "Hyuga Naru, Janan of Kanahagakura no Sato, returning to Konoha after a personal visit to Suna," she repeated. "Do you have anything to declare for customs, Hyuga-san?" the guard asked. "Nothing." "Naru-san," the shinobi interjected, "I am Mido Gai, Konoha's sublime green beast of prey. Hokage-sama dispatched me on a youthful mission to retrieve his honorary granddaughter from her arduous journey. I presume that is you?" "Yes, I am eager to enjoy a bowl of ramen with Jiken." Arduous and ramen were the pre-arranged signs established by the Hokage to confirm the identity of his emissary. She followed Guy until they were out of sight of the customs stations. "Excuse me, Guy-san, I need to inform the Hokage of your arrival via a shadow clone." She quickly created and dispelled a clone. "What a most youthful communication method," Guy exclaimed. "Yes, indeed. Guy-san, do you know how long I have been away?" "Approximately 3 days." "All right. I am eager to return." "How youthful." "Naru-san, I am one of the swiftest shinobi in Konoha's service. May I carry you so we can reach our youthful village more expeditiously?" Although physically capable, Naruto was mentally and emotionally drained. "Okay, Guy-san." "Very well. I shall transport us to Konoha with utmost youth," he declared, lifting her into a prince's carry and speeding off. Just under 2 hours later, they stood in the Hokage's office. One of Naruto's shadow clones was present in the office. "May I disperse now?" the clone asked. "One moment. I want you to create another shadow clone, then disperse. We will verify if she knows the password I provided a few minutes ago," said the Hokage. The clone complied. After the clone's clone dispersed, Naruto said, "The password is orange." "Very well, you may disperse," said the Hokage. The clone dispersed, and Naruto felt the influx of experience. Although the clone had not engaged in significant activity, it had remained awake for 3 days. The Hokage had feared it would disperse if it slept. The only noteworthy event was a mild interrogation by the T&I. The Hokage dismissed Guy and said, "Naruto-kun, I'd like you to tell me what happened. Your clone told me, but she only knew of it via second-hand memories. I'd like a first-hand retelling of it." Naruto told the Hokage what had happened from the time that Mizuki approached her after the failed exam until she and Guy entered the office. "My wife, Biwako, was a senju. She told me that the senju, Uzumaki, and Uchiha clans were all descended from Rikadu Senin-sama and that his name was Otsutsuki Hagoromo. She said that the reason the senju and the Uchiha always fought was because of an inheritance dispute that the Uchiha couldn't let go. I wonder if this Kaguya lady is related to him." "There's an Uzumaki clan? Why haven't I met them?" she asked earnestly. "Unfortunately, most of them died years ago during an attack on their homeland. Your mother was the last that we knew of." "How come you never told me about my parents, Jiken?" she said sadly. "Your parents had many enemies, Naruto-kun. Your mother was even kidnapped when she was about your age. While you look like your mother, your coloring used to be very similar to your father's, and you were missing the distinctive Uzumaki red hair. Without that I thought it safe to let you have your mother's name, but if people thought you were a real Uzumaki, it would put you in danger. Please tell me about her, Jiken." "I swear I won't tell," she pleaded. "I'll tell you a little bit as a test, but if I hear gossip about her being your mother, I won't tell you about your father until you are a Jounin or are 18. He had even more enemies. If you've kept the secret, I'll tell you about your father when you were a Chonin. She pouted and gave him the puppy dog eyes, but he remained unmoved. Okay, Jiken, I promise. Your mother's name was Uzumaki Kushina. Her personality was actually a lot like yours when she was young. She was very boisterous and prone to pranks. She and your father were very happy when they found out she was pregnant with you, but they both died during the QB attack. I can show you a picture of her tomorrow. Thanks, Jiken, she said. I would like that. Her eyes were a little watery with emotion from finally finding out a little about her family. The Hokage let her process it for about a minute and then said, "Please dispel the disguise, Naruto-kun." Naruto did so and the Hokage said, "Mostly just a coloring change. I wonder if that's a real Byakugan or if it just looks like one? Can I touch your horns?" Naruto nodded. She felt a slight pressure as he gently pushed on one of them. "Have you noticed anything else strange, Naruto-kun?" he asked. "Just the weird slit in the center of my forehead. It's easy to miss, if you don't look closely. There's something other than bone behind it. I want you to get an exam from my personal physician before you go home today," he said. "Do I have to? I'm really tired and I hate the hospital." "I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, but it's standard practice for shinobi who have been captured, especially if there are physical changes. Mostly it's to make sure there aren't tracking seals or worse on you." "Worse?" she asked nervously. "My old student Orochimaru, for example, used a curse seal on one of our shinobi that sometimes causes her pain. She says Orochimaru told her it would give her power, but my other student, Jiraiya-kun, says that if she uses it, it will rob her of her free will." "Okay," she said begrudgingly. "I have just a couple more things to talk to you about before I let you go," the Hokage said. "First, I've decided to honor Irika's advancement of you. Not only did you learn a Jounin level ninjutsu, you defeated a Chonin and escaped from S-rank missing nin. Also, I think that failing you because you can't perform the clone technique with your huge chakra reserves is stupid. You would need much better chakra control than what we expect of Jinan to do so. If I had known that's why they were failing you, I would have intervened." Naruto gave him a blinding smile. "The second thing is that I'd like to ask you about a few of your classmates and whether you think you can work with them. I don't normally do this, but with the clone fiasco and the kidnapping, I want to cut you a break." Naruto nodded. "Thanks, Jiken. Do you think you can work with Haruno Sakura-san?" Naruto frowned. "I've tried to be friends with her, because she used to get picked on for her hair and her forehead. At first she friendly, but after the first couple of days she just ignored me. But within the last few years, she has been vicious to me, both physically and verbally, especially if the Uchiha is in the room. I've asked Ayame Nichin about it and she thinks it's because she's jealous of my looks and she's afraid I'll steal her Sasuke-kun from her. Personally, I don't see it. I'm too short and skinny and I have these birthmarks." She touched her cheeks. "But to be honest, almost all of the girls are like that. Sakura is just the worst. She's usually the only one that hits me." "Is Yamanaka Ino-san one of them?" "Yes, she's one of the worst verbally, although she rarely hits me." "How about Hyuga Hinata-san?" "No, Hinata-san is very quiet and shy. A couple of times she was friendly to me, but for the most part she kept to herself." "Do you think you can work with Uchiha Sasuke-san?" "No, but to be honest, I don't think he's willing to work with anyone. Where Hinata-san keeps to herself out of shyness, Sasuke does it out of contempt. I tried to be friendly to him after the massacre, since I'm an orphan too, but he ignored me like he does everyone." She chuckled nervously. "I may have indulged in some name-calling and bragging with him because he ignored me or put me down." "What do you want from your Jounin sensei?" "I want someone who will actually train me. No one has ever taught me anything. I don't really count the academy lectures since I didn't understand most of what they said. I like to work hard. I need to work hard. I don't want to be captured by those Red Cloud freaks again. What I don't want is someone that will ignore because of the QB or because I was dead last or because I don't have a clan to help me." "Alright, thank you, Naruto-kun, for answering my questions," he said. "I want you to rest for the rest of the day after you finish with my doctor. Tomorrow, I want you to come and get your picture taken and turn in your shinobi registration. I also want you to meet me here at 9 o'clock to test and see if you have the Byakugan. The following day head to the academy at 10 o'clock for team assignments." "Okay, thanks, Jiken." Naruto was waiting in the Hokage's office for Hinata to arrive. She was a little bit early because she was excited to see if she had a bloodline ability. The doctor had said that the slit on her forehead hid a third eye but Naruto had not been able to open it. The registration had gone well. She had been tempted to do something silly, like cover herself in face paint, but she was too nervous about meeting the Hyuga that would teach her how to activate her eyes, assuming she had the Byakugan. The Hyuga were known to be entirely too serious. If she had known it would be Hinata, she might have tried anyway. She had caught the shy girl giggling at some of her pranks. There was a knock at the door and Hinata entered. "Hello, Hokage-sama," she said with a slight stutter. The dark-haired girl looked at Naruto and said, "Naruto-chan?" "Yeah, it's me. I got kidnapped the day of the Genin exam and the kidnappers did something to me that made me look a little different." "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I was kidnapped when I was 3 years old, but my father saved me before I was taken from the village." Hinata poked her index fingers together nervously. Naruto took a closer look at Hinata's eyes. They really did look similar, except that Hinata's had a pale lavender cast to them, while Naruto's had a pale blue cast. As you can see, Naruto-kun's eyes now look remarkably like the Byakugan. "We'd like to test to see if this is true. Would you please teach her how to activate the Byakugan?" asked the Hokage. "Yes, Hokage-sama," Hinata said. She turned to Naruto. "These are the hand seals." She demonstrated the horse, modified tiger, modified boar, hare, rat, dog, horse, dog, hare, rat, modified boar, and modified snake hand seals. After you do them, you direct chakra to your eyes. Once you get used to it, you can do it with less hand seals or even none. Even though I can do it without hand seals, I usually use just the last one because it takes less concentration. I recommend that you practice the hand seal series before trying to add chakra. Naruto concentrated because the number of hand seals was larger than the 4 techniques she knew of and some of them were non-standard. She kept repeating the hand seals with Hinata offering gentle correction. After about 10 minutes she tried it with chakra. She felt something, but her vision did not change. She kept at it for another 10 minutes until her vision altered. Everything became pale and transparent. Glowing networks within Hinata and the Hokage stood out. She noticed that she could see other people in the building along with their chakra networks. She could focus on different areas at different distances. "Yada," she exclaimed. "It worked. Wow, this is cool, Hinata-chan. Thank you. Congratulations, Naruto-chan. I would practice until you can do it with just the final hand seal and until you can focus on several areas at once. When you're used to looking only straight ahead, looking all around can be disorienting." The third Hokage smiled. "I offer my congratulations too. Now, Naruto, even though you have the Byakugan, you are not a Hyuga. If any Hyuga give you grief and try and get you to do something you don't want to, let me know. Conversely, you are not entitled to the Hyuga's gentle fist techniques. Please do not ask Hinata or anyone else to teach you. Hinata, please do not offer your clan techniques without explicit permission from your father as clan head." Naruto felt like she would burst and her cheeks were starting to ache from the wide smile she had. Hinata smiled shyly at her, looking pleased that her friend was happy. Naruto thought it would be nice to have clan techniques, but just having a bloodline ability was awesome. "I would like to have you meet with Hyuga-san this afternoon so that he isn't blindsided by you having the same bloodline. If you go out this afternoon, leave a shadow clone at your apartment so that I can tell you when to come. However, before you go, I have that picture to show you and, if you're good, I'll tell you a couple of stories." "Yada," exclaimed Naruto. Naruto was back in the Hokage's office. She was not as prompt this time. She had not enjoyed her experiences with any Hyuga other than Hinata, and what she had heard of Hinata's father had not endeared him to her. Still, she did not want to disappoint the Hokage too much, so she arrived only a minute or two later than she was expected. She was not going to change the way she talked though. "Hi, Jiken," she said. "Naruto-kun," said the Hokage, "thank you for coming. Have you met Hyuga Hiashi-san before?" Hiashi nodded his head slightly in greeting, but did not say anything. He looked entirely too serious. "Nope," she said cheerfully, "I'm Uzumaki Naruto. I'm in your daughter's class. Naruto-kun was kidnapped by some missing nin recently through the actions of a traitor. The missing nin did something to her that changed her appearance and gave her the Byakugan bloodline. As you can see, she managed to escape. Are we sure it's the Byakugan rather than just a cosmetic change?" the Hyuga clan head asked. "Yes, at my instruction, your daughter showed Naruto-kun the hand seals and they worked. Before you say anything, Hiashi-san, I also instructed Naruto-kun that she was not to seek instruction in the gentle fist or other Hyuga clan techniques without your approval, which I do not expect you to give because she is not Hyuga." Naruto demonstrated her ability to use the Byakugan. "So they are not an implant?" The Hyuga asked with confusion. No, Naruto explained, they did something to my chakra because it was similar to a woman named Otsutsuki Kaguya. Odd. Our clan legends say that the Hyuga are descended from Otsutsuki Hamura, the brother of the Rikadu Sennin. He hesitated for a moment. Clan history also says that those who did not inherit Hamura-sama's eyes in the early days of the clan left to form the Kaguya clan, but it does not say why they chose that name. Please do not spread around that we are related to those barbarians, even if it is distantly. Could this Otsutsuki Kaguya have been one of those who left the Hyuga? Asked the third. It is doubtful, responded Hyashi. Clan history tells the names of all that left the clan to form the Kaguya, and I would remember if one of them was actually named Kaguya. Is it possible she is Hyuga blood? Not closely, the Hokage answered. I know who her parents and grandparents were. However, due to my wife I know some of the Senju clan history, and according to the Senju, they, the Uzumaki, and the Uchiha are descended from the Rikadu Sennin, Otsutsuki Hagoromo. So she is a true Uzumaki? Yes, answered the Hokage, but please don't spread that around. The identities of her parents are S-class secrets for Naruto-kun's safety. Interesting, Hyashi said. Hyashi-san, I brought you here to see if you had any insight, and as a courtesy, since people have already mistaken Naruto-kun for a Hyuga, I also want you to warn the more reactionary elements of your clan not to hurt or try and pressure her. Also tell your clan elders that if she receives the caged bird seal, I will execute all of them. Very well. Thank you for the courtesy, and I will pass on your warnings. He bowed and left. Naruto also left, but nearly ran into Uchiha Sasuke, who was waiting with what looked like his shinobi registration. Not wanting to deal with her broody classmate, she merely said, "Hi." The Uchiha grunted at her. Not having anything to do, she just wandered aimlessly. She got some weird looks from the villagers, probably due to the rabbit ear-shaped horns on her head. From her espionage practice, she knew that people were so used to identifying her by her orange jumpsuit. She figured that her coloration changes probably did not register with them. She absently played around with her Byakugan. She could barely feel the chakra drain. She thought she could probably keep it up indefinitely, but she had to admit that the bulging veins near the eyes made it look freaky when she stopped to look at herself in the window of an abandoned store. Eventually she ended back near the academy and saw a boy 3 or 4 years younger than her sitting on a swing brooding. He had dark hair and eyes and was wearing a blue scarf. She had been doing the same thing after she failed the Jinan exam. Was it only 4 days ago? Hey, kid, she said. Why so down? Who are you calling kid? He protested loudly. You aren't much older than me. Naruto flicked the leaf badge resting on her forehead. This says I can call you kid, she said proudly. Besides, I'm much older than you. I'm just a little bit short. He pouted. Stupid Jiken won't let me be a shinobi. How am I supposed to get everyone to respect me if he doesn't? Really? She said surprised. No one respects me either, but I worked really hard and now I'm a shinobi. They'll totally respect me now. One more step closer to being Hokage. No way, he shouted. I'm going to be the next Hokage. I'll defeat Jiken and then he'll have to give me the hat. Silly kid, she said, you can't be Hokage just be beating the old man once. You have to be the strongest, and that takes lots of work. They lapsed into silence until Naruto asked, so why don't they respect you? The boy sighed, my grandpa, the third Hokage, had me named Konohamaru, but nobody calls me that. It's always honorable grandson this, honorable grandson that. They respect me only for Jiken. I want to be respected for myself. He looked at her. Why don't they respect you? She touched the birthmarks on her right cheek. I'm an orphan with nobody that cares for me other than the Hokage and maybe 3 others. My birthmarks remind people of a tragedy and they hate me or ignore me for it. But I won't let that stop me. Konohamaru pumped his fist in the air and yelled in wordless agreement. After a moment he said, do you know the Uchiha boy? I ran into him at Jiken's office. He completely ignored me. That was even worse than being honorable grandson. She laughed. I know him. He was in my class. Don't feel too bad. He does that to everyone. She leaned in closer. Do you know what I do when they ignore me? He shook his head. I'm not known as the prankster queen of Konoha for nothing. She bragged. Can you give me some tips, boss? He asked. Can you do the disguise technique yet? He shook his head. Teach me, boss. For a successful prank, you have to decide if you want them to know it was you, suspect it was you, or be clueless. Disguise is the key to this. Wouldn't I want to fool them completely every time? It depends. If you want them to notice you, they need to at least guess it was you. My favorite pranks are when they suspect it's me, but for them to suspect, you need to build up a rep first by being seen a few times. I also like to let them chase me for a little bit, then hide using disguise, and then let them chase me some more. Konohamaru was listening raptly. You also need to be careful not to do anything too bad, she said. Most of the time anything beyond a minor aggravation is bad news. Naruto spent the next hour teaching him the disguise technique. The boy was just starting to get it down when she got hungry enough to go look for Iruka to see if she could get some free ramen out of him. Iruka was glad to see that she was okay. He was a little disturbed by the cosmetic changes, but amazed that she had the Byakugan. She ate 4 bowls of ramen. Iruka joked that she ate her body weight in ramen. The Ikirikas had not known about the kidnapping, but were glad to see she came out of it mostly unscathed. As Naruto ran toward the academy for team assignments, she figured she had 2 options. She could burst in loudly to try and grab everyone's attention, or she could sneak in, which might have more prank potential. If she were trying to grab a specific person's attention, she might try the first option, but she was not interested in attention from boys due to some bad experiences, and none of the girls with the exception of Hinata were nice to her. Loud and proud would just embarrass Hinata, so she decided to do sneaky. She ran up behind the academy and climbed a tree near the wall to get onto the roof. She used the disguise technique to change into a little brown mouse. She had noticed that none of the other kids could do this, they only did other people. She scurried through the ventilation system until she got to her classroom. She snuck into the back corner and waited until most of the class was there, but Iruka was not. She changed back into herself, sat down next to Hinata with a smile. Hinata gave a quiet eep, which Akamaru noticed. Kiba and his puppy were sitting right in front of her. Kiba turned and said loudly, "What are you doing here, Naruto-san?" She gave him a grin and said just as loudly, "You didn't notice the shinobi in the bright orange jumpsuit?" By this time the whole class was watching them. Kiba spluttered and said, "You aren't a shinobi, Naruto-san. You failed the test." Naruto tapped her leaf badge. "I thought you and Nezuko were supposed to be observant. It turns out that Mizuki was sabotaging my test scores, and Iruka-sensei and Hokage Jiken re-evaluated me and passed me. You should know that there was no way a shinobi as awesome as me could have really failed." Kiba snorted. "Yeah, right. You'd still be the dead last. I'll believe you could pass when I see it." Naruto smirked. "You mean you wouldn't see it, right?" Hinata giggled and then eeped again when Naruto and Kiba looked at her. In reality, Naruto got along with Kiba well enough, but they had a fun time baiting each other. "Hey, Naruto-san," Kiba said. "What's up with those things on your head? And why are you all pasty white now? The kill me orange jumpsuit not getting you enough attention?" Naruto sighed. She could see most of the class listening in. The reason they knew to investigate Mizuki was that he got me captured by some missing nin. They had me for 3 days before I escaped. While I was captured, they did something to me that changed my coloring, and the ear things are horns that grew because of that. "Bummer," Kiba said. "I'm glad you escaped, although they must not have been that tough if the dead last got away." Kuji and Shikamaru also chimed in here to say they were glad she had escaped. By this time the daily feud over who got to sit next to the Uchiha was nearing its climax. Ino and Sakura were arguing with a third fangirl whose name Naruto could not be bothered to remember and who had managed to get the coveted seat. Iruka entered the classroom and used his big head technique to quiet everyone down. "Congratulations on becoming shinobi," Iruka began. Naruto only gave him half her attention as he talked about their new responsibilities and started announcing the teams. The first 6 teams contained civilian or non-clan kids. They treated her much worse than the clan kids, so she ignored them in return. She only remembered Sakura's name because of the one day she had been friendly and then how awful she had treated her since. Naruto had to admit to herself that sometimes she sought Sakura out when the pain of being lonely outweighed the pain of insults. It was something she was not proud of. Hyuga Hinata-san, Uchiha Sasuke-san, and Uzumaki Naruto-san will be Team 7. At this point Iruka was interrupted by the screeches of the fangirls. "No way," yelled Sakura, who drowned out the others. "Dog face and stutters don't deserve." "Sakura-san," interrupted Iruka with his big head technique. "Such insults are unbecoming of a shinobi of Konohagakure no Sato. Did you completely ignore what I just said about you all being comrades? But if I hear another insult out of you, I will put a complaint in your official file. Your foolish infatuation is likely to get you killed. I will be talking with your sensei, as well as those of several others, to help you grow out of this dangerous phase." He took a deep breath. "As I was saying, the Jounin sensei for Team 7 is Hatake Kakashi-san. Naruto absently noted which teams her friendlier acquaintances were on. Kiba and Shino were stuck with Sakura and Kuji and Shikamaru with Ino. She was glad she was with Hinata. Sasuke would be a pain, but she could bear it as long as their sensei was decent. Most of the new Genin had met their senseis after lunch. 2 hours after everyone else had left with their sensei, Naruto was already regretting hers. After all those questions, she would have thought that Jiken was serious about getting her a good one. Sasuke was sitting off by himself brooding. She and Hinata had talked for a while, but they had run out of small talk. "Do you know anything about this Hatake Kakashi-san, Hinata-chan?" she asked. "Well," the dark-haired girl responded quietly, "he's the jounin that always wears a mask and his leaf badge covers one eye. I've heard my clansmen say he's very skilled but irreverent. He's always late and he's always reading dirty books. Hey, I've seen that guy around and I know what he looks like. Maybe one of us should go look for him?" "Knowing you, dead last," Sasuke spoke up for the first time. "He'd show up just after you left." "Ha, I'll just use my awesome new technique to look for him." She summoned 6 shadow clones. "I wonder if my clones can use the Byakugan? Give it a try, girls." The 6 clones flew through the hand signs and activated their Byakugan. "Awesome," Naruto yelled. "Head out and look for him." "Since when do you have a bloodline, dead last?" Sasuke asked. "Since I was kidnapped by missing Nin," she replied. "They randomly decided to give you Hyuga eyes?" he said in disbelief. "Nah, they did something to my chakra. I talked to Hokage Jiken and Hinata-chan's dad and they think I'm distantly related to the Hyuga and whatever they did awoke some long-dormant genes." Sasuke grunted in either acknowledgement or disbelief. Naruto didn't know him well enough to know the difference. "I'm distantly related to you too, you know," she said. He stared at her. She smirked. "Hokage Jiken said that Senju legend says that the Uzumaki, the Senju, and the Uchiha are all descended from the Rikadu Sennin. Hyuga legend says that they are descended from the Sennin's brother. Family stories do say that the Uchiha were descended from him," he said finally, "but if the Senju were as well, why did they fight with us all the time?" Jiken said that it started with an inheritance squabble. He grunted. "Well, don't think it means anything. A common ancestor 500 years ago makes us, what? 25th cousins? Give or take a few. Might as well not be related." She did not have anything to say to that, so they went back to ignoring each other. After a while she had memories of her clone finding him at the memorial stone. She had looked at it before to see if she could find any Uzumaki names on it before. There had been a few and she had memorized them all. Kushina had been one of them. "One of my clones found our delinquent sensei at the memorial stone." "How'd you know a clone found him, dead last?" asked Sasuke. He sounded curious despite himself. "Shadow clones are awesome," she said. "When one dispels, I get her memories." "Can you teach it to me?" asked Sasuke with interest. "Sorry, Hokage Jiken made me promise not to teach it to another Genin. If you don't have enough chakra you can die of chakra exhaustion. The only reason I can do it is because I have Jounin level chakra reserves." "You have Jounin level chakra reserves?" asked Sasuke incredulously. "Yeah, that's why I could never do the normal clone technique. I have too much chakra to control it easily. Evidently it's a common problem for Uzumaki." Sasuke grunted. He looked a little perturbed that there was something that she could do that he could not. "Should we go run him down or should I have my clones harass him until he comes here?" Naruto asked, trying to distract Sasuke from his pouting. Naruto-chan," Hinata stuttered, poking her index fingers together, "he could get angry at us for either of those. HMMFF, I really don't think he deserves any considerations for being over 2 hours late." "I agree with the dead last," Sasuke said. "Can you have your clones keep an eye on him so we don't miss him?" "Yes." She made a clone and it dismissed immediately. "Give me a few minutes to make sure my other clones get there to make sure he hasn't left." "Okay," she said a few minutes later. "My clones are monitoring him from a distance with the Byakugan." "Leave one here too, in case he gets around us," Sasuke suggested. "I'll do better than that," she said with a smirk. She created 3 clones and had 2 of them disguise themselves as Hinata and Sasuke. The Hinata disguised clone activated her Byakugan, but lost it after about 5 seconds. "Oh, that's hard to do," the dark-haired girl clone said. "Maintaining both skills at once. I'll have to practice," Naruto murmured to herself. The 3 new Genin approached the memorial stone. "How should we do this?" asked Hinata stuttering. "I figure we have 3 choices," Naruto said. We can approach him like we were supposed to meet here. We can scream and yell at him for not coming to us like he was supposed to. Or we can play the hurt students and try to guilt him into be on time next time. Both Hinata and Sasuke were looking at her incredulously. What? She said. I'm an orphan girl that nobody likes. I had a few close calls when I was younger where I would have ended up raped, or worse, if Anbu hadn't saved me. I've learned I have to be careful in new situations. Just because I act like an idiot, doesn't mean I really am. Hinata looked sad, but Sasuke still looked like he did not believe her. Believe it or not, when I was younger I tried to be a good student, but the teachers all ignored me and treated me suspiciously. I actually get treated better if I act like an idiot. I might be tempted to make the mask real if it weren't for the real risk that being stupid carries for a girl who's all alone. So, do you know why no one likes you? Sasuke finally asked. I just barely found out during the kidnapping incident. And let me tell you how unpleasant it is to have almost everyone hate you without knowing why. All I'm going to tell you is that it had something to do with what happened the day I was born. I'll tell you more when, or if, we become real friends and teammates. Sasuke grunted. Hinata still looked sad. Finally Hinata said, I think we should do the first option. I don't think we'll be able to guilt a Jounin, especially not from what I know of Kakashi-sensei's reputation, but we might be able to impress him. Sasuke grunted. I think the Hyuga's right. Probably, said Naruto, but screaming and yelling would be satisfying, at least. Sasuke rolled his eyes and led the two girls closer to the stone. They stopped a few paces behind him. He continued to ignore them. Naruto elbowed Sasuke in the side. He glared at her, but said, Sensei, we're here for our introduction. Nothing happened for 10 seconds. Then Kakashi turned around and his visible eye closed like he was smiling. I'm so happy that my cute little Jounin have come to seek me out. Have a seat, so we can get to know one another. He dropped to the ground and sat. The 3 12-year-olds followed his example. How about you introduce yourselves, name, likes, dislikes, goals, things like that, the Jounin said. Naruto decided to go first. She said animatedly, my name is Uzumaki Naruto, I like ramen, especially from the Ichiraku stand, and Hokage Jiken. I dislike the 3 minutes it takes for ramen to cook and people who can't tell the difference between a sealing scroll and what's inside it. My goal is to be an awesome shinobi and the best Hokage ever, so that people will respect me. When neither of the other two immediately followed, Kakashi pointed to Sasuke and said, you next, Broody. Sasuke grunted and said, my name is Uchiha Sasuke. I don't really like anything and there are many things I dislike. My goal, no, my ambition, because I will accomplish it, is to kill a certain man and rebuild my clan. Kakashi turned to Hinata. My name is Hyuga Hinata, she stuttered. I like pressing flowers and my sister. I dislike the way my clan treats the branch house and I hope to change it someday. My goal is to be a strong shinobi so that I won't disappoint my father. Naruto frowned at Hinata's brief description of her home life. The three of them waited. Finally Naruto said, aren't you going to introduce yourself, sensei? He gave them the weird eye smile again and said, my name is Hatake Kakashi. It's probably not appropriate to tell you my likes. I dislike people who abandon their comrades. Goals. Yeah, I probably shouldn't tell you those, either. The 3 Jounin blinked at each other. At least they got one tidbit besides his name. I suppose I should tell you what we're doing tomorrow, Kakashi said. Meet at 7 o'clock in the morning at Training Ground 7 prepared for a survival exercise. He pointed to some posts not far from the memorial. I recommend that you skip breakfast so that you don't puke. The results of the exercise will determine whether you really become Jounin, whether you get sent back to the academy, or whether you are dismissed from the program. What? Yelled Naruto. We just took an exam for that. That was just to weed out those who were really unsuited, said Kakashi. Or had too much chakra, Naruto mumbled under her breath. I should warn you, continued Kakashi, that this test has a 66% failure rate. He then disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Sasuke stood up and walked off. Naruto and Hinata looked at each other. Finally Hinata poked her fingers together and said, I should go and report to my father. Naruto sighed. She had hoped to be able to spend time with her team and get to know them better, but she couldn't think of any reason that Hinata should put off reporting to her father for. Okay, Hinata-chan. I'll see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, Naruto-chan. I'm glad I'm on your team. Me too. That afternoon and evening, Naruto practiced doing the Byakugan and the disguise technique at the same time. She had a few clones practice too, since she figured that she would have her clones doing it as well, since it was a pretty awesome spy technique and she didn't know if it was more or less difficult for shadow clones. After a few hours it became easy enough that she and her clones could do it well enough. At 6 o'clock Naruto sent 20 clones under the disguise technique to the training ground while she got ready and ate breakfast. She arrived shortly before they were due. Both of her teammates were already there. Half of her clones dispelled to let her know the layout of the training ground and to let her know they had not found any traps. "What are the odds he's on time today?" she asked. "Not good," Hinata said, poking her fingers. "A girl in my clan who has a brother who is a Chonin warned me he has never passed a Jinan team and that he likes to play head games." "What else do we know about him?" Naruto asked. "He did say yesterday that he dislikes those that abandon their comrades. His nicknames are the Copy Nin and Sharingan no Kakashi," Hinata said. "He's rumored to have copied 1,000 techniques." "Sharingan?" Sasuke asked incredulously. "He's not an Uchiha." "I asked about that too," Hinata responded. "Evidently it was given to him by a dying Uchiha teammate and he keeps it under his leaf badge while he's not using it." "What does the Sharingan do?" Naruto asked. "It's the Uchiha bloodline ability," Sasuke asked. "It allows its bearer to predict movement, including hand signs, and to remember and reproduce techniques that it sees. It also helps with making and dispelling genjutsu." "Wow, that's useful," Naruto said. "I bet the copying aspect of it made your clan really unpopular though." He just smirked as if he did not care what the peons thought. "Well, once you awaken your Sharingan, we'll be Team Dujutsu," Naruto said thoughtfully. Hinata brought out a couple of bentos. "Have either of you eaten yet?" Naruto laughed. "I forgot that he said not to." Sasuke shook his head. "I think you should eat, Sasuke-kun," Hinata said. "Like I said, he's known for playing head games. I think it's more likely that you'll need the energy than that you will vomit." Naruto and Hinata chatted on and off for the next 3 hours with Sasuke occasionally joining in. Finally, Kakashi appeared in a swirl of leaves. Kakashi placed a clock on one of the posts. "The alarm is set for noon," he said. "Which means you have about 2 hours to complete the exercise." He held up 2 bells. "Whoever gets a bell passes the tests. If you don't have a bell, then you'll be sent back to the academy or dismissed from the program." He pulled out a couple of bentos. "I also brought some lunch to share with those who get bells. If you don't get a bell, I'll tie you to one of the posts. Any questions?" Sensei," Hinata stuttered, poking her fingers together, "why are there only 2 bells?" Kakashi hummed to himself. "I don't really feel like teaching, so I decided to make it easier on me and harder on you guys." Naruto could not help but wonder if the lack of a 3rd bell was a plot to avoid passing her. The whole thing seemed off, but she could not put her finger on why. She looked at her prospective teammates. Hinata seemed thoughtful, but Sasuke just seemed excited in his understated manner. Naruto decided she needed to talk to Hinata. If she had to choose a teammate she would rather have her anyway. "Ready, set, go," shouted Kakashi. Hinata and Sasuke ran off to find a spot to hide. Naruto did the shadow clone technique, keeping her plan in mind. One of her clones immediately dispelled. She felt chakra from one of her clones engulf her and she let it take her. She saw that she was now hiding in the bushes. Her plan to have one of her cones do the replacement technique with her had worked. She activated her Byakugan so that she could find Hinata while her clones tried to loudly distract Kakashi. She quickly located Hinata and made her way to her. "Hey, Hinata-chan," she said quietly. "Do you find something fishy about this test?" By this time, Naruto was getting memories from dispelled clones. Kakashi was not taking them seriously at all. He was reading from an orange-covered book rather than paying attention to their taijutsu fight. "Yes," she said shyly. "There are never any teams with less than 3 Jinan. Also, didn't he say that he hates those that abandon their comrades, yesterday?" "Yeah," Naruto said, "and how could he be our teacher if we could already beat him? It seems reasonable that we're supposed to work together. He never said that we couldn't team up and share a bell," Hinata said with a small amount of confidence. "Should we go find Sasuke-san?" "I don't think he will work with us," Naruto said doubtfully, "but I guess we should at least ask." By this time all of Naruto's visible clones had been defeated and one of her hidden ones had formed a clone which had dispelled to let her know which way he had gone. Naruto, who had kept her Byakugan active, searched her field of vision until she found Sasuke. He seemed to be buried in a hole up to his neck. Kakashi was taunting him. As she watched their prospective sensei walked off. "He's this way," she said, pointing. Hinata also activated her bloodline ability and the two of them walked toward Sasuke, avoiding Kakashi who was wandering between the trees of the training ground with his nose in the book. After a few minutes they approached Sasuke. "Hey, Sasuke-san," Naruto said, deciding to be polite for once. "Hinata and I've talked and we think there's something fishy about this test. We've noticed 3 inconsistencies. First, yesterday he said he hates those that abandon their comrades. Second, there are never any teams with only 1 or 2 Genin, it's always 3, and last, if he could really be beaten by a single fresh from the academy Genin, do you really think he would be a worthy teacher?" Sasuke grunted in annoyance. "Very well. Dig me out." Naruto summoned a bunch of clones and they started to dig him out. "How should we do this?" Naruto asked once they had freed the Uchiha boy. "Even with the 3 of us, I think this will be hard," Hinata said nervously. "Kakashi-sensei is one of the top jounin in Konoha." "We'll need a distraction," Sasuke said. "Distractions are one of my specialties," Naruto said. "I can make a bunch of shadow clones. If I disguise a third of them as each of you, then you guys can sneak into position more easily. Hinata, I practiced the Byakugan with disguise last night and got it down, so you can use yours." "How many clones?" Sasuke asked. 30 each? Said Naruto. "I can make more, but I don't want to swamp the place. I recommend you don't go in right away, since when I tried before he went through my clones very quickly. I can also disguise my clones as cats or some other smallish animal to sneak up and make a try at the bells." "Dead last," Sasuke lectured, "even if you manage to make a clone look like a cat, it will still be the same size as you." "It won't," Naruto protested. "I do things like this all the time. It's one of the techniques I use to hide when I prank. Sneaking into small places is very useful." "Dead last, why do you think it's called disguise technique?" he retorted. "Oh," she replied, "I've always wondered about that. Now that I think about it, doing a human-sized disguise takes me as much chakra as a shadow clone and doing a rat-sized one takes 10 times as much. If what the Hokage told me was right, then most academy students shouldn't be able to do it. Now that I think about it, I could never get it to work and no one would help me, so I just kept adding chakra until it worked." "Can you do the technique now?" Hinata asked. "Sure." Hinata activated her bloodline ability and Naruto changed into a cat. "Even though the hand signs are the same as the normal disguise, your chakra is compressing oddly at the end and you're using much more than for a normal disguise. I can't tell how you're compressing the chakra though, so I couldn't reproduce it. The Byakugan doesn't work that way." Sasuke grunted. "Leave it to the dead last to stumble into a new technique. She can't do anything simple, but can evidently do hard things easily." Naruto stuck out her tongue. "I'm too awesome for the standard clone or disguise, jerk. Are you going to rediscover Hiraishin while botching a replacement, dead last?" "Maybe I will, jerk." Hinata interrupted nervously, "I think what we've talked about is a good idea." "Okay," Sasuke said. "We'll send in the dead last clones 6 at a time. I'll be hidden in the 4th group and do a fireball technique. After it dissipates, Hinata-san will come in with the next group and try and use the gentle fist on him. Check for replacement use. He used it on me when I almost got him with a fireball before. While he's busy with Hinata-san, the dead last will send in a couple of cats to try and cut the bells and grab them. You might want to be one of them, but probably not the first one." "Sound good, jerk," Naruto said. "I agree," said Hinata. Naruto made 183 clones. 3 of them disguised themselves as cats. A third of the remainder disguised themselves as Hinata and a third as Sasuke. About half of the Hinata clones activated their Byakugan. "Hey, Naruto-san," said Sasuke, "do you know the Fire Lord's wife's cat, Tora?" "Yeah. I've seen Genin chasing her. The only time I've heard shinobi complain more than that is when they were chasing me." She smirked. "Can you make one of the cats Tora?" He smirked. "Maybe with the Genin team chasing her?" "Not bad, Sasuke-san. I'll make a prankster out of you yet." He grunted in response. "Do either of you know a Genin team that I can impersonate?" My cousin is a Genin and I've seen his teammates," said Hinata. "Can you disguise into them, one at a time, Hinata-chan?" Hinata changed into a tallish boy about their age with long dark hair and Hyuga eyes. "This is my cousin, Neji. He fights using the gentle fist." One of Naruto's clones changed into him. She changed into a boy with a tight green jumpsuit and bushy eyebrows. "This is his male teammate. I don't know his name, but I think he's also a taijutsu expert." "Whoa, eyebrows. commented Naruto as one of her clones transformed into him. Lastly, she changed into a girl with her brown hair done up in 2 buns wearing a pink sleeveless blouse. I don't know her name either, but she seemed to specialize in thrown weapons. A Naruto clone changed into her as well. "We ready?" asked Naruto. Sasuke grunted and Hinata nodded. Naruto said, "We'll split into 6 groups so we can come at him from all sides." The clones all split up with half of those appearing as each Genin gathering together. The 3 real Genin candidates went with one of the groups of clones that looked like them. They surrounded the clearing where Kakashi was reading his book. Naruto realized they had forgotten to make a signal to start, so she rapidly made and dispelled a clone to let the other groups know to start in 10 seconds. After she had counted 10, one of her clones ran forward. Naruto saw that 5 other clones were rushing in too. Kakashi made quick work of the clones, but a second group was already starting in. After the third group, she sent in Tora and the mock Genin team. The Tora clone ran right at Kakashi with the 3 fake Genin running after her. Kakashi jumped out of the way, but the fake cat changed directions and ran at him. By this time the 4th clone group entered the fray. One of the Sasukes opened up with a fireball which Kakashi escaped via replacement, but it took out cat and team clones. This allowed Hinata in the 5th group to get a hit in which closed one of his tenketsu. Kakashi quickly recovered and was easily holding his own against her. The 6th group of clones went in and Naruto changed into a cat. The 3 cats ran toward Kakashi's back. One of them once again looked like Tora. The first cat jumped at the bells and swiped at the strings tying them, but cat claws are made to puncture and not cut, so she ended up batting the bells. The second cat grabbed a bell in her mouth and managed to break the string, however, Kakashi dispelled her and the bell dropped. The real Naruto made a dive for it but was batted away. The remaining clones kept coming in their groups and Sasuke made another try to cook Kakashi with a fireball, but they did not get any closer. They stopped to regroup, but the alarm sounded and time was up. "Well now," said Kakashi with his closed-eye smile. "That was refreshing. Come with me and we'll debrief the exercise." Naruto dragged herself back to the posts where they had originally met, following Kakashi and the others. She was feeling discouraged. Hinata looked like she was about to hyperventilate. Sasuke looked irritated. "So, do any of you want to explain what you did wrong?" Kakashi asked lightly. "Nothing," snapped Naruto. "If all 3 of us working together couldn't get them, I don't see how this is a legitimate test. Did you make it impossible because or me?" "Do all of you think that?" asked Kakashi. "Yes, minus the dead last's delusions about her own notoriety," drawled Sasuke. Hinata nodded. "What do you think the purpose of the test was?" asked their sensei. "So it wasn't the bells?" asked Hinata nervously. Kakashi shook his head. Naruto's pulse quickened as she realized they still had a chance. "It was teamwork, wasn't it?" she blurted out. Kakashi nodded. Sasuke grunted. "You object?" Kakashi asked Sasuke. "Teamwork won't help me with my ambition," he replied. "That is manifestly false," Kakashi said. "You were much closer to beating me with Naruto and Hinata than you were by yourself. It would be the same with that man." Sasuke growled. "It's something I have to do myself. I have to prove I'm better than him. If I have help, it won't be me avenging my family." Kakashi sighed. "I'll be honest with you, Sasuke-kun. That man is one of the top 10, if not top 5, shinobi that Konoha has ever produced and he hasn't stopped getting better since that night. If you work hard, you could equal or surpass him in 5 or 10 years. If you have a team that you can trust, you can easily reduce that time by half or more." "But he was only 14 when he slaughtered our clan," Sasuke shouted. "Sasuke-kun, he didn't defeat them in open combat. He caught them unawares. I know you want him to know you are the one to kill him, so the same conditions don't apply. Plus, Konoha made a conscious decision to not allow people to advance when they are that young after Itachi went rogue in order to prevent another tragedy. You don't want to be another Itachi, do you, Sasuke-kun?" Sasuke grunted and then turned his head away. He said, "I didn't have enough hate to defeat him." Naruto reached over and bopped him on the head. "Idiot, why are you listening to him? You can't trust that he isn't trying to sabotage you." "What do you know, dead last?" he snarled. "I know about hate. I've been hated my whole life. I didn't even know why until a couple of days ago. When I was 5, I got sick of it and started hating everyone back. I noticed that when I snarled back at someone who was rude to me they had a satisfied look in their eyes, like I was confirming that I deserved to be hated. Then Jiken took me to Ichiraku's and they treated me well, so I let go of my hate while I was there. I saw that I felt better when I was at Ichiraku's, and I decided that I wouldn't let the haters ruin my life. I still get back at the worst of them, but I don't let it stop me from being happy. And do you know what? Living well really is the best revenge. Instead of the satisfied glint in their eyes, I saw frustration when they realized that they weren't going to keep Uzumaki Naruto down. So you think I should be a cheerful idiot like you? Well, the idiot part is optional. Let me put it this way. Itachi wants you to obsess about him. When you can't stop thinking about him, you're doing what he wants. Sure, get vengeance or justice for your family, but don't do what he told you to do. If you want help, Hinata-chan and I have got your back. Right, Hinata-chan? Hinata nodded shyly. And when Kakashi-sensei shows up 2 hours after Itachi is dead, he'll totally take us out for dinner. Right, sensei? I haven't said whether you've passed or not, Naruto-chan, Kakashi admonished. Ah, come on. We showed awesome teamwork, she protested. Well, I don't know about awesome, but you did work together. I guess. You pass. Naruto jumped up and shouted. Hinata smiled. Sasuke smirked. I suppose I can let you share these. He handed them 2 bentos. Meet here tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. He disappeared in a swirl of leaves. The 3 newly confirmed Genin shared their lunches. Hinata and Naruto talked to each other with an occasional comment from Sasuke before they separated and went back to their homes. The next morning the 3 Genin met at the appointed time. Kakashi showed up 40 minutes later. Are you seriously going to be late every time? Naruto yelled. Well, you see. He started. Are you completely lacking in common courtesy? Naruto interrupted. Of course, Kakashi said with a closed-eye smile, I'm a shinobi and certainly not common. Naruto rolled her eyes. Sasuke grunted. Kakashi said, think of it as an opportunity to do some individual training and maybe give each other some helpful hints. I ask that you don't spar with each other without supervision yet, but anything else would be great. Are you going to train us for real? Naruto asked suspiciously. You look like the type to do the bare minimum to avoid getting into trouble with the Hokage. Yes, Naruto-chan, he replied. I will train you for real. To that end, I'd like each of you to give a summary of your skills, ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, weapon skills, or anything else you think makes you a good shinobi. Afterward, I want your teammates to say if they agree or have anything else to add. Sasuke-kun, you go first. I know the 3 academy techniques and the fireball technique. I got 10 tenths in the academy shuriken and kunai tests. I'm also skilled with wire techniques. I'm skilled in the Uchiha family taijutsu style, the interceptor fist and the basic academy style. Sounds right to me, said Naruto. Hinata nodded. Hinata-chan next, said Kakashi. Hinata stuttered through her response while poking her fingers. I know the 3 academy techniques. I typically got 8 tenths in the academy shuriken and kunai tests. I'm proficient, but not excellent in the Hyuga family taijutsu style, the gentle fist. I have a range of about 50 meters on my Byakugan. Sasuke said, Hinata-san is actually very good with the gentle fist forms, but she's too hesitant in using them in actual spars. Naruto nodded. Hinata-chan is pretty good, but she could be better if she believed in herself. Naruto-chan, prompted Kakashi. I'm decent at the replacement technique. I rock the disguise technique and I can make hundreds of shadow clones. I usually get 5 tenths in the shuriken and kunai accuracy tests. I won about half of my taijutsu matches. I can see about 100 meters with my Byakugan, but I'm still getting used to focusing on multiple locations and the entire field of view. My clones can see about half that. Sasuke said, on the positive side, the dead last showed us that she can make physical changes with her disguise technique, which we didn't know was possible. However, her taijutsu forms are terrible. She won the matches she won due to endurance and unpredictability rather than skill. Hinata nodded. Naruto pouted. The teachers always ran out of time before they got to me. Only Iruka would try and he would usually get called away by Mizuki. Sasuke-kun, Hinata-chan, Kakashi said, you can help Naruto-chan with the academy-style taijutsu and throwing exercises during open training time. Teaching her should help you refresh your own skills more than working by yourselves. After that, Kakashi evaluated them individually for an hour. He used shadow clones for Sasuke and Hinata. Then they did some team exercises. After lunch they did a boring D-rank mission which involved painting a fence. Kakashi prohibited shadow clone usage in order to not cheapen the experience for your teammates. After that Kakashi assigned some hand signal booklets as homework. He also gave Naruto a chakra control exercise to work on before dismissing everyone. The Genin fell into a routine. Kakashi gave them Wednesdays off for personal training and Sundays off for rest. The other days they trained on their own while waiting for Kakashi to show up 30 to 180 minutes late. Frequently Sasuke or Hinata gave Naruto tips or instructions to help her catch up. Kakashi taught them chakra control and team building. The team building included silent communications, formations, and trust exercises. He also refined the rough spots in their taijutsu and kunai handling. When Hinata mentioned that her family discouraged the use of weapons as anything other than distractions to be thrown, Kakashi stated that there were some occasions when even a chakra-coated fist was contraindicated. In the afternoons, they did D-rank missions. Kakashi mentioned some of the lessons from the chores that they could apply to higher rank missions, but the Genin were not impressed. After the mission, Kakashi dismissed them with some tips or assignments to work on by themselves. After 2 months, Hinata had loosened up compared to how she was in the academy. She did not stutter as much, although she was still shy. Kakashi was not very generous with his praise, but he was also not as negative as her Hyuga teachers. Naruto's enthusiasm and praise made up for part of Kakashi's lack. Naruto also insisted that Hinata fight for real in their spars, which helped her overcome her shyness in battle. Sasuke's irritating condescension when she held back also helped motivate her. Her taijutsu use in spars was now as crisp and fluid as when she was practicing katas by herself. Hinata had quadrupled the range of her Byakugan through practice to 200 meters. She had also gotten better at seeing tenketsu. She claimed this was partly because Naruto stood out so much and that switching between sparring Naruto and Sasuke taught her what to look for. Hinata's chakra control was good enough that Kakashi said she could be great at genjutsu or medical ninjutsu. Hinata's primary role on the team was as a short-range fighter or bodyguard, since she was the best at taijutsu and had the quickest reaction times. Sasuke had also loosened up in that he actually spoke sentences and occasionally participated with the girls outside of required team activities. Personally, Naruto and Hinata thought it was because he no longer had to deal with his fangirls as frequently. When Naruto asked him, he said it was because he could see the difference the chakra control exercises were having on the size and number of consecutive fire techniques he could do. He had added the Phoenix Flower technique to his repertoire from his family technique scrolls. Sasuke's primary role on the team was as a mid-range fighter using his fire techniques and thrown weapons. He also supported Hinata with taijutsu and wire techniques needed. Naruto had become less loud and manic because she had people paying attention to her. She had tightened up her taijutsu forms. She was still not as good as Sasuke or Hinata in taijutsu, but she managed to surprise them and won the occasional sparring match. She had also improved her chakra control to the point it was as good as Sasuke's. This was mostly due to Kakashi having her use shadow clones to practice chakra control. She had greatly improved her kunai and shuriken throwing techniques to the point where she was better at it than Hinata. Kakashi taught Naruto some shadow clone strategies so that she no longer just rushed into a fight. He had her practice the replacement technique until she could do it with only one hand seal and recommended that she keep at it until she could do it seal less. The 100 clone kunai barrage and sneaky replacements made her much more dangerous. She also practiced replacing her clones with Sasuke and Hinata. This mainly involved getting them to relax when they felt her chakra engulf them. She could overpower them, but this left them disoriented and Sasuke did not want to use any technique that left him unable to fight, even in retreat. She had improved her Byakugan to the point where she could see a kilometer. She had improved more than Hinata due to the fact that she could keep the bloodline constantly active due to her huge chakra reserves and chakra regeneration rate, if she wanted. Hinata was better at noticing details, however, due to her training and personality. Naruto's primary role on the team was as long-range support, using her clones to attack at range and to get Hinata and Sasuke into position or out of danger. She also was the team's primary scout and trapmaker. She had expressed interest to Kakashi about Fuinjutsu, having a personal interest due to her role as a Jinchuriki and what the Hokage had told her about her clan. Kakashi had promised to get her started once her handwriting improved enough. Although the three had their primary roles, they were all at least proficient at their teammates' roles, although neither Hinata nor Sasuke were as flexible at long range as Naruto, despite Sasuke still being the best marksman. The three Genin had talked about asking for a tougher mission after Kakashi had left the previous day. They had all agreed that they were ready, although Sasuke and Naruto could tell that Hinata was a little nervous about it. As they gathered after lunch, Naruto stepped up to Kakashi with Sasuke and Hinata bracketing her. "Kakashi-sensei," she said firmly, "the three of us have discussed it and we believe that we are ready for a C-rank mission." "Really?" he asked with a raised eyebrow. "Do all of my cute little Genin agree?" Sasuke grunted. I don't know about cute Jinan, but Hinata and I agree. Hinata said, yes, sensei. We all agree. Kakashi visibly pondered for almost a full minute before finally saying, very well. If all my cute little Jinan agree, we'll ask for a C rank. Naruto let out a whoop. Hinata smiled. Sasuke smirked. They walked to the mission desk at the Hokage Tower. When they got there, Iruka happened to be the Chunin manning the desk. The Hokage was also there, as he was about a third of the time. Hello, Team 7, said the Hokage. We have missions to obtain goods for an event, renovating a training ground, or grooming some ninkin. Hokage-sama, said Kakashi. Team 7 requests a C-rank mission. Iruka spluttered. It's barely been 2 months since they graduated. Plus there was the kidnapping attempt. Iruka-sensei, Naruto scolded, I'm not going to hide. I want to be a shinobi, for real. Iruka-kun, Kakashi drawled, I don't think you realize how much my Jinan have improved. Besides, unless there's a leak in the mission office, it's unlikely we'll see a repeat of Naruto's graduation test. We've also have a protocol in place in the event that something like that happens. The protocol was that Naruto flooded the place with shadow clones and replaced all of the Jinan to get out of immediate danger. With Sasuke being one of the last potential Sharingan holders and Hinata being a main family Hyuga, Naruto wasn't the only potential kidnapping target. The Hokage stared at Kakashi for a moment, who nodded. Very well, said the Hokage. He looked through a list. We have an escort mission to Nami no Kuni. He turned to one of the Chunin near the door and called, bring in the bridge builder. An old drunk man carrying a jar of sake was escorted in. Kazuna, this is Hatake Kakashi-san and Team 7. They will be your escort back to Nami no Kuni. Bah! They're just a bunch of brats. And why does the pasty white one have those weirder things on her head? Where are the real shinobi? The old man complained. Bah, this guy is just an old drunk, responded Naruto. Where's the real client? I'm the super important super bridge builder Tazuna. Who are you? I'm Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage. Count on it. Kakashi put a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Enough. Tazuna-san, I'll pick you up at your hotel at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Team 7, be ready at the main village gates at that time. He looked at the mission briefing that Iruka had handed him while Naruto and Tazuna were squabbling. Back for 3 weeks. I'll see you tomorrow morning. The Jinan dispersed. The next morning the Jinan were patiently doing chakra control exercises while waiting for Kakashi. They were balancing the points of multiple kunai on their hands using chakra. Hinata was doing 6 kunai, while Sasuke and Naruto were doing 4 each. They were amazed when Kakashi showed up with the bridge builder 10 minutes after he had told them to meet. After they had passed the bell test, he had stopped being horrendously late, but he was always at least 30 minutes late. To be here now, he would have had to have been on time or even early to the hotel. Don't be too shocked, my cute little Jinan, he responded to their open shock. How can I keep you on your toes if I'm always late? He paused and then added. I'm going to leave formation and scouting to the 3 of you. I've got scouting, said Naruto. She formed her favorite hand sign and summoned 12 shadow clones. The clones activated their Byakugan and then disguised themselves as dogs. I'll send my clones out in pairs to cover both sides of the road. Kazuna looked visibly shocked at the display, but kept silent. You should check periodically as well, Hinata-chan, said Naruto, since you're better at noticing details. I'll take point, said Sasuke. Naruto-san, you cover the rear. Hinata-san, you should provide close security to the client. Kakashi checked them out with the gate guards and they left. Naruto's clones spread out in a loose circle around them out of view of everyone except the 2 Byakugan users. Nothing out of the ordinary happened the first day. Hinata chatted with the client a small amount to be polite, but everyone else kept to themselves. At night, Kakashi had the Jinan each take a 3-hour watch shift. The 2 girls shared a tent and Sasuke shared one with the client. Kakashi slept under the stars. The next day they set out as they had before. Before they had gone 2 hours, Naruto felt one of her forward position clones disperse. There were 2 shinobi hiding in a puddle about a kilometer ahead. Guys! She called just loud enough for Sasuke in front to hear. There are 2 shinobi hiding in a puddle about 2 kilometers ahead of us. They each have about as much chakra as Sasuke-san, but I couldn't tell anything else. As they gathered together Kakashi noted, Sasuke-kun has high reserves for a new Jinan, so they're likely new Chunin or experienced Jinan. Something you want to tell us, Tazuna-kun? Kazuna looked a little nervous, but shrugged. I've made an enemy of the wealthy Gato. He's been oppressing my country. The shipping magnate? Asked Kakashi. Yes. He's monopolized all the shipping and his thugs steal from my people or even kill them. I've heard rumors of kidnappings and drug running. My bridge will break his monopoly, so he's been threatening me. He's always used thugs before. I don't know if those shinobi are after me. Someone like Gato is wealthy enough to hire shinobi, commented Kakashi. He's a miserly scumbag, said Tazuna. I can't imagine him forking out the money. Some people of that type use missing nin, sometimes with the intention of stiffing them, said Kakashi. Nami no Kuni is the only thing out this way besides a small fishing village. Odds are they're here for you. You really should have included the possibility in your mission request. We're a poor country, Tazuna said. We barely scraped together enough for a C-rank mission. You could have worked something out with the Hokage. A small portion of your bridge toll, for instance. He may have even agreed to take out Gato directly, rather than simply guarding you. Oh, said Tazuna sheepishly. What's to stop Gato from simply seizing the bridge once you're done? Asked Hinata. A bridge is much easier to control than a shoreline. Tazuna collapsed to his knees and buried his face in his hands. It's true that Gato could seize the bridge, said Kakashi, but if he operates the bridge, he's liable for anything that happens to its patrons. He could get away with seizing the goods from small, unaffiliated companies occasionally, but not anyone important in High no Kuni. Whereas on the open sea, well, piracy happens. The bridge also draws attention to Nami, which I'm sure he'd want to avoid. So, he'll try and stop the bridge, said Naruto, but if Tazuna-san succeeds, he'll seize it after we leave? Most likely, said Kakashi. Tazuna started sniffling. So, I'm thinking you would like to renegotiate, Tazuna-kun? Drawled Kakashi. Tazuna stood up and composed himself. Yes, I think that would be a good idea, Kakashi-san. Kakashi and Tazuna haggled back and forth until they decided on Konoha taking the value of 2A rank missions from Gato's assets plus a tithe of the tolls from the bridge for the next 15 years, with Konoha taking out Gato and monthly check-ins by the border patrol with a higher percentage if a permanent security presence was needed. I need to get Hokage-sama's approval on this, but I'm pretty sure he will agree, said Kakashi with a closed-eye smile. Assuming he agrees, I would expect him to send 1 or 2 jounin to us within a day. We can wait for them at the shore, or for a rejection message. Kakashi wrote out a note on a scroll. However, I think we should see if these 2 shinobi know anything first. He paused for effect. I believe you 3 are capable of handling those shinobi, especially during a failed ambush. I, of course, will be around in case something goes wrong, but I don't think it will. What do my cute little Jinan think? We can do it. Naruto enthused. Piece of cake, said Sasuke smugly. Hinata poked her fingers together and looked at the ground. Naruto put her hand on the other girl's shoulder and gave her an encouraging smile. Hinata smiled back shyly and then mustered her courage and said, We can do it, Kakashi-sensei. Very well, said the jounin. We'll let them spring their trap. They will likely target me first. If they do, I'll let them think they've incapacitated me. Hinata-chan, you're best suited to provide close security to the client, so let Sasuke-kun and Naruto-chan take care of the shinobi unless they approach you, okay? Sasuke-kun, you take the one on the left. Naruto-chan, you take the one on the right. Sasuke-kun, try to capture yours alive, since you are currently better at that type of technique than Naruto-chan. Wouldn't it be better if Tazuna-san stayed out of sight? Asked Hinata. Yes, it would, said Kakashi. I left that flaw in the plan to see if any of you would spot it. You should always evaluate the plans your leaders put forward, speak your mind, and then accept what your leader says. In this case, Naruto-chan, disguise a pair of clones as Hinata-chan and one as Tazuna-san. The 2 of you will stay out of sight of the puddle. Naruto-chan, have your contingency clones watching everyone. They started walking forward again. Naruto stopped everyone after about 7 minutes. It's just over there, she said, pointing. Naruto made the Hinata clone, the Tazuna clone, and the contingency clones. Hinata activated her Byakugan. The 2 designated Jinan, the 2 clones, and the jounin moved forward again. Naruto felt anxious as she approached the puddle. She was operating without her Byakugan in order to lure the shinobi out. Since she was in the rear, she had a perfect view of Kakashi getting ripped to shreds as 2 masked shinobi in similar outfits hopped out of the fake puddle. They each wielded half of a long spiky chain attached to a gauntlet. One down, they called simultaneously. Naruto steeled herself as she knew that Kakashi's torn body was likely a genjutsu. She activated her eyes and saw that it was really a log. She was tempted to use her bloodline to locate him, but knew she should concentrate on the battle. The Hinata clone pulled the Tazuna clone away from the developing battle. Sasuke threw a pair of kunai to anchor the chain into a nearby tree. Both enemy unhooked the chain from their clawed gauntlets. Naruto and Sasuke both placed themselves between the two disguised clones and the enemy shinobi. One of the enemy charged the white-haired girl brandishing metal claws. Her Byakugan observed that the claws had a greenish sheen on them. Poison, she thought. She formed 6 clones. 3 of them leapt away. She and the remaining 3 clones all drew kunai and charged in a diamond formation. She took the slot on the left herself. She and her clones engaged the enemy. He was a little bit better than her, but not by a lot. She and her clones each got a couple of strikes on him due to outnumbering him, but he managed to dispel 2 of her clones. She was tempted to keep going, but figured that the risk of being poisoned was not worth her pride. She whistled a short sequence for her clones and let one of them replace her. The 3 clones that had jumped away had each formed 5 clones. Upon the successful replacement, she and the 14 clones bombarded him with kunai. She was not good enough to depend on anything other than center of mass shots, so he wasn't likely to survive. He managed to deflect several of the kunai, but she had him surrounded, and enough of the kunai hit him to leave him collapsed on the ground. She noticed that Sasuke had his opponent slightly singed and wrapped up in wire. Kakashi appeared in a swirl of leaves. Excellent work. Let Hinata-chan know to come, he said. Naruto made a shadow clone and dismissed it to let the contingency clone near Hinata know. A few minutes later, Hinata and Tazuna approached. Kakashi examined the 2 enemies. Both were wearing slashed mist badges. The demon brothers, Guzu and Maizu, former Chunin of Kiri, now C-rank missing nin, said Kakashi. These are Chunin? Asked Sasuke incredulously. Kiri must have low standards, said Kakashi. You guys are good for fresh Jinan, but you are still fresh Jinan. He finished examining the one that Naruto had been fighting. I don't think Guzu is going to make it. Kakashi took the other brother off a little ways to interrogate him. Naruto could not look away from the enemy shinobi that was in the process of dying. She felt sick to her stomach and lightheaded. She finally looked away and started to stumble off. She did not get far before she collapsed to her hands and knees. She heard someone approaching behind her as she covered her mouth and fought back the urge to vomit. Are you okay, Naruto-chan? Asked Hinata. I killed him, she whispered. Hinata gathered up Naruto's longish hair and started to rub her back. You had no choice, her friend replied as she continued to rub her back. He was trying to kill you. Naruto could not hold it in anymore and vomited onto the ground. After she was done, Sasuke approached and offered her a handkerchief silently and then retreated. Naruto wiped her mouth and then sat up. Hinata scooted up behind her and braided her hair as they made small talk to get their minds off of the nastiness of their profession. When their sensei returned, he said, I couldn't get much out of him except that he was after our client. He wouldn't say if there were anybody else working with them or who hired them, but they were known associates of Momochi Zabuza, an A-rank missing nin from Kiri. We should wait here for our backup. Set up a perimeter, Naruto-chan. Naruto made 20 shadow clones that activated their Byakugan and disguised themselves as foxes and ran off into the forest. The Jounin brought out the scroll he had made earlier and wrote a few more sentences. He cut his finger, flew through some hand seals and slammed his hand on the ground. A design with Fuin characters spread out from his hand and a brown wolf-like dog wearing sunglasses and a blue vest appeared in a puff of smoke. Akino, he said, I need you to deliver this scroll to Hokage-sama and Konoha. Travel quickly. Yes, sir, responded the dog, which then took off running. Naruto looked on in amazement and Sasuke with interest. I hold a summoning contract with the Ninkin, Kakashi explained. I can tell you about summoning contracts when we have more time. Kakashi looked at the mess that Naruto had made and said, I'd hope that you wouldn't have to experience this yet, but it is a part of what we do. He made a shadow clone and instructed it to watch Tazuna. He drew his students off a little ways and talked about how to cope with death and killing. Just before dusk, 2 Konoha shinobi arrived, a man and a woman. The man, Naruto recognized as one of the other Jounin senseis, the one for Shikamaru's team. He was dark-haired with a beard and wore a standard Konoha Jounin uniform with a sash with the kanji for fire on it. The woman had purplish hair done up in a puffy ponytail and wore a tan trench coat with only a mesh shirt and orange miniskirt underneath it. They introduced themselves as Sarutobi Asuma and Mitarashi Anko, a Tokubutsu Jounin. Hey, Asuma-sensei, said Naruto, where are Shikamaru-san and Kuji-san? Dad thought that a wind user would be handy if we ran into Zabuza, since he favors the hiding in the mist technique, but we decided not to bring my team. They're doing clan training while I'm gone. Are wind users rare? Asked Naruto. In Konoha, we are. I'm the only currently active Jounin wind user. We have a small number of retired wind users. Most wind users come from Suna or elsewhere in Kaze no Kuni. I don't think Maizu here knows much, but you're welcome to try and see if you can get anything else out of him, Anko-san, said Kakashi. It will be my pleasure, she said as she licked a kunai and dragged the tied-up missing nin away. Kakashi ended up being correct. The only other thing that Anko got out of the surviving demon brother was that they were in fact working with Zabuza for Gato, but they had strongly suspected that already. The three Jounin took the watches that night. The next morning they set out again. Team 7 proceeded in the same formation as before. Asuma scouted ahead and Anko covered the rear. Both of them had one of Naruto's clones with them for communication. By evening they were a short distance from the fishing village where they would cross over to Nami. They camped again for the night. This time Kakashi had the Genin take the watches like he had the first night. In the morning, the three Jounin discussed what the plan for deploying in Nami should be. According to Tazuna, they would have a short-hour walk from where they landed to his house. The Jounin decided that Anko would scout the island with some of Naruto's clones, while Asuma would accompany Team 7. Tazuna led them to a small cove where a fisherman was waiting for them. Team 7 entered the boat with Tazuna, while Asuma and Anko water walked beside the boat. The strait that separated Nami no Kuni from Hai no Kuni was narrow, but foggy. It took them 20 minutes to cross with the fishermen paddling quietly. The only noteworthy thing to happen during the crossing was the first view of the bridge which loomed out of the fog. That's the bridge? Said Naruto. Maybe you are more than an old drunk, after all. I told you, I'm the super bridge builder Tazuna, brat, said the bridge builder. The fishermen hushed them both. Quiet. Gato has patrols. They landed and Tazuna thanked the fishermen. Anko split off from the group with 5 of Naruto's clones and the rest of them followed Tazuna's directions. Before long, Naruto noticed something odd with her bloodline. The fog has traces of chakra in it, she said. Hinata turned hers on and said, I see it too. We must be at the edges of the hiding in the mist technique, said Kakashi. We will most likely be facing Zabuza. He's a Jounin, so let Asuma-kun and I handle him. You three stay with the client. I'll take lead on him, Kakashi-kun, said Asuma. I was sent to take care of him, after all. They continued into the mist, which gradually got thicker. After they had walked a few minutes, Hinata said, I see 2 figures up ahead about 100 meters, just off of the path on the left. One of them has almost as much chakra as Asuma-sensei. The other has less, but still much more than Sasuke-san. The one with less chakra has a weird texture to it. Naruto quickly found who she was talking about. I see them too. This mist is really messing with my range. Kakashi said, we'll advance slowly, together. With someone like Zabuza, we don't want to get separated. When we get to 10 meters, I want you both to try and hit them with kunai or shuriken. The one with more chakra is almost certainly Zabuza. The other is likely an experienced Chunin or new Jounin, possibly with a bloodline. When they got to about 15 meters away from the other shinobi, Naruto made 20 shadow clones. When they got to about 10 meters, Naruto and Hinata looked at each other and then they started throwing kunai along with the 20 clones. The 2 shinobi either deflected or dodged all of the kunai. The one that was presumably Zabuza charged them while the other withdrew. Naruto and Hinata both yelled, duck, as a large cleaver-like sword spun through the air towards them. Kakashi pulled Tazuna down as everyone hit the deck. The sword embedded itself into a tree. Naruto saw Zabuza fly through the air and land on the sword. He was shirtless with bandages covering his lower face like a mask and a headband with a slashed mist badge at a jaunty angle. The Konoha shinobi all climbed to their feet. Momochi Zabuza, demon of the hidden mist, said Kakashi. Sarinigan no Kakashi, the copy nin, said Zabuza. That kunai barrage wasn't very neighborly. I didn't think you were a neighborly sort of guy, Zabuza, Kakashi responded. That's true enough. I'm going to have to ask you to hand of the bridge builder. Now, why would I do that? Responded Kakashi. Good, said Zabuza. I prefer it this way. The mist began to thicken and Naruto frowned as her Byakugan's range contracted. She could still see him as he snuck around, but the other shinobi was out of range. He made 4 clones, however, unlike shadow clones, she could clearly differentiate between them and him. Zabuza, Is a master of silent killing, said Kakashi, so stay alert and watchful. Silent killing? Asked Naruto. There are 8 targets. Zabuza's voice came out of the fog. Throat, spine, lungs, liver, jugular, subclavian, kidney, heart. Which should I choose? Asuma put his hand on Naruto's shoulder and asked, where? Naruto pointed and said, there, about 5 meters. He's got 4 clones out there as well. I'm not sure what kind, but they aren't shadow clones or normal clones. Before she had finished talking, Asuma made 5 hand seals and muttered, great breakthrough. The mist in front of him dispersed to show Zabuza holding his giant sword. What's this? Asked Zabuza, a wind specialist? And the albino is a Hyuga, too? It's like you were prepared for me. Well, it won't help you. And 2 sets of unsealed Hyuga eyes. This is my lucky day. Naruto saw Hinata shiver. You're Sarutobi Asuma, aren't you? Zabuza continued. You have a nice bounty in my bingo book. It's not as good as Kakashi's, but it will do nicely. You'd have to survive to collect, responded Asuma. He pulled out 2 trench knives and slipped his hands into them. Whitish pseudo blades sprang from the knives. Asuma and Zabuza leapt at each other. The clones are circling around us, sensei, said Naruto. They're almost certainly water clones, said Kakashi. They're only a tenth as powerful as the real Zabuza, but they can use any water release techniques he knows, so be careful. While they had been talking, Zabuza swiped at Asuma with his giant blade. Asuma parried it with his left knife and then sheared through his opponent's blade close to the hilt with the white pseudo blade protruding from his knife. Zabuza swore and then strapped the hilt onto his back. Whoa, said Naruto. Kakashi said, Asuma-kun's trench knives are made out of a special chakra conducting metal which allows him to manifest wind chakra blades from his knives. I believe he calls the technique flying swallow. Wind chakra can be sharpened to a very high degree. I've seen him cut through just about anything. Kakashi absently punctured 2 of the water clones that approached them with thrown kunais. They gushed water and dispelled. Zabuza had leapt apart and flew through an extensive hand sign sequence. Asuma slipped his knives into wrist holsters and then slipped something into his mouth and did 4 hand signs and blew out a stream of ash or dust. This caused Zabuza to leap back farther. Zabuza finished his technique roaring, Water Dragon Bullet. An impressive water dragon formed around him and shot forward. A spark from Asuma's mouth ignited the dust just as the dragon was entering the dust cloud. A formidable explosion blew the water dragon apart. Zabuza scowled. The Kiri missing nin next did a short sequence of hand seals and high-velocity water globs shot from his mouth. Asuma retaliated with a high-velocity stream of air that contained dust or sand. In the meantime, Kakashi had eliminated the remaining water clones much like he had the first ones. Any other clones? He asked. Both Naruto and Hinata said that there weren't. He moved off at an angle and began going through a long sequence of hand seals very rapidly. Asuma and Zabuza were still trading quick ninjutsu back and forth. Finally, Kakashi ended his sequence and another water dragon bullet formed around him and leapt at Zabuza. Zabuza swore and tried to leap away, but the dragon followed him and crashed into him, flinging him onto his back. Asuma took the opportunity to close on him and lunged at his shoulder with his flying swallow before he could roll away. As Asuma was about to finish him off, a figure in a mask with an unmarked mist badge appeared next to the down missing nin and said, "Thank you, I was." "That's his partner." Naruto interrupted. The partner grabbed Zabuza by the shoulder and disappeared in a swirl of water droplets. "That person was wearing a Kiri Hunter nin uniform," said Asuma. "Hinata-chan and I saw her talking to him as we approached." "Right, Hinata-chan?" Naruto explained. Hinata nodded. Kakashi explained, "Hunter nins are shinobi that the various villages send to track down missing nin and other people of interest. They can be sent on capture missions, but usually they kill their targets. If the missing nin is from their own village, they kill them and destroy them on the spot in order to prevent other villages from learning secrets from their bodies or information on techniques, bloodlines, or special tools." The 3 Genin nodded to show that they understood. "How far are we from your house?" Kakashi asked Tazuna. "About a 30-minute walk from here," Tazuna responded. "All right, let's go," said Kakashi. They arrived at Tazuna's house without further incident. Kakashi had Naruto set up a parameter of clones. A pretty woman with long, dark hair of about 30 years answered the door. "Cousin," she said. "I'm so glad you've come back safely." "These Konoha shinobi made sure of it," the old man said. "This is my daughter, Tsunami." Greetings, Tsunami-san, said Kakashi. I'm Hatake Kakashi, a jounin of Konoha. This is my colleague, Sarutobi Asuma-san, and my students, Hyuga Hinata-san, Uzumaki Naruto-san, and Uchiha Sasuke-san. Another of our colleagues, Mitarashi Anko-san, will be along later today. Naruto-chan here is something of a prodigy with a technique called shadow clone, so if you see more of her around, don't be alarmed. So many? Tsunami said. We have 2 small guest rooms. Will that be enough? It should be okay. We all brought sleeping bags, so you don't need to worry about providing futons. I'll share with Asuma-kun and Sasuke-kun. Anko-kun can share the other room with Hinata-chan and Naruto-chan. Tsunami showed them to the rooms and the shinobi set up. There wasn't a lot of space, but there was enough to roll out their sleeping bags and place their packs. Anko showed up at dusk. After she had situated her things in the room with Naruto and Hinata, Kakashi had them all meet in the clearing in front of the house. Did you find anything, Anko-kun? Kakashi asked. I found Gato's base. He's occupying the daimyo's mansion, which is a few kilometers away from the main village on the opposite side. The village is about a kilometer away from here. He's got about 100 thugs camped around it. Most of them looked pretty useless for anything other than mobbing, but there were a few that looked like they had basic shinobi or samurai training. We ran into Zabuza, Kakashi said. Asuma-kun got him in his shoulder pretty good, but he had an associate posing as a hunter nin that escaped with him. We didn't chase them because I felt splitting up was a bad idea. What are the odds that Zabuza will give up? Asked Asuma. Slim, replied Kakashi. The demon of the hidden mist has a lot of pride. However, he'll probably have reinforcements. Should we send for more? Naruto asked worriedly. Kakashi shook his head. If we were facing a team from Iwa or Kumo, possibly. This is the biggest team Hokage-sama will send against missing nin. Luckily, as a missing nin, Zabuza will have limited resources. He probably won't be able to bring in more than 1 or 2 jounin level shinobi. What about Gato? Hinata asked. Kakashi said, Gato could certainly afford more shinobi, but I doubt Zabuza will let him know the details of our encounter, and I would bet he insisted on an exclusive contract. So, do we move on Gato? Anko asked. I'm hesitant to split us up or leave the bridge builder undefended, Kakashi said. We wait for Zabuza to show up or until the bridge is done and then we take out Gato? Asuma asked. Unless Anko-kun thinks that one of us can take out all of Gato's thugs at once, Kakashi responded. I could certainly sneak in and assassinate Gato, Anko said, but I'm afraid his thugs will go crazy on the locals if I do. The problem is that the thugs will run if one of us kills a bunch of them, and who knows what will happen then. We'll guard Tazuna-san and his family until something happens to change things then, said Kakashi. Kakashi ended the meeting. By then it was time for dinner. They met Tsunami's son Inari, who was sullen and grumpy. He told them they were all going to die because Gato was too strong. The shinobi all ignored him, which irritated the boy. The jounin kept watch in shifts during the night. The next morning Kakashi had Naruto make 20 clones to watch the house while the shinobi went with Tazuna to the bridge site. When they got there, Asuma and Anko guarded the bridge builder while Kakashi instructed the jounin nearby. I have something that I want to teach you, said Kakashi, but is there anything any of you want to learn first? Do you have something I can use for capturing enemies? Naruto asked. I don't like that I had to kill that missing nin and we had to rely on Sasuke-san to capture the other for questioning. My main technique other than taijutsu is the shadow clone kunai barrage, which doesn't leave a lot of options. Kakashi tapped his mouth with his fingers. The herders that live around the edges of the desert in Kaze no Kuni have a weapon called the bolas, which might suit you. It's fashioned from cords with 2 or 3 weights on the ends. You twirl it and launch it from a distance and it wraps up limbs. We can look into it once we get back to Konoha. He waited, but there were not any other requests from the jounin. Today we're going to start you on the flicker. It's a D-rank ninjutsu, but it's got a lot of utility. It's a fast movement technique. I'm sure you've seen me use it when I disappear in a swirl of leaves. Most shinobi can't use it in battle, but one of Sasuke-kun's cousins was famous for doing so. I think that Naruto-chan could use it to position her clones pretty handily. However, to escape a dangerous situation, replacement is better because it takes less concentration and is less traceable. He showed them how to do it and then had them practice it. By the end of the day, they could all do it, but still needed practice to be able to hit their landing target more accurately. That evening at dinner, Naruto was teasing Sasuke about how his fangirls would squeal when they heard that his C-rank mission had turned into an A rank. Hinata was giggling at Sasuke's grimace. Inari glared at the three genin. How can you be so happy when you're all going to die? Kid, Naruto said, you have to take your happy moments when you can get them. What would you know? He responded. You've been laughing and smiling since you've gotten here. You have no idea what hangs over you. You have no idea what suffering is. Naruto's temper flared and her hair started to writhe. You have no idea how good you have it. You still have your mother and grandpa, at least. I bet you've never been truly hungry or in real danger. I don't need to hear you complain about suffering when you don't know what true loneliness is. I guarantee my life has been harsher than yours, but you don't see me crying about it. She stormed outside before she said or did something she would regret. She ended up on the dock looking out over the water. It was a full moon, which comforted her for some reason. She watched the reflection of the moon in the water as it rippled. About 10 minutes later she heard footsteps on the dock. She looked over her shoulder and saw Hinata and Sasuke approaching. You put on quite the show there, dead last, Sasuke said. It wasn't a show, jerk, she said. The kid ticked me off. The only thing worse than a real emo is a fake emo. At least you have a legitimate reason to brood. Hinata said, Kakashi-sensei told them a little bit about how the village treated you, Naruto-chan. At that point Inari-san ran upstairs and Tsunami-san told us about how Gato had Inari-san's stepfather, whom he loved, executed in front of the whole village, including Inari-san. She snorted. Still doesn't excuse him from trying to ruin what little happiness I have. The other two sat down, one on each side of the white-haired girl. They were silent for several moments. You know, jerk, she said to Sasuke, I've always been a little jealous that at least you got to have your family for years before you became an orphan. At least you remember them. I always thought it was better not to have known, said Sasuke. Then at least you didn't have the pain of losing them. Small consolation when you can see other kids being happy with their families. The conversation lapsed. I've been jealous of them too, those that have a real family, said Hinata quietly. The joy drained out of my father when my mother died. The compound has been so cold since then. My father ignores me. My sister thinks I'm weak. My cousin hates me. The clan elders can't wait to put me into the branch family where I'll be little better than a slave. The rest of the clan either hates me or pities me. I'm never so alone as when I'm surrounded by my so-called family. Look at us, Naruto said. 3 orphans, one way or the other. We should make our own family, brother and sisters. Kakashi-sensei can be the perverted uncle. She put an arm around Hinata and held the other out for Sasuke. Come on, emo boy. Group hug to seal the deal. He allowed himself to be pulled into the hug with only a grunt in protest. Naruto cackled. Hinata and I can play matchmaker and set you up on dates like any good sisters would. Sasuke glared. If you do, I'm burning Ichiraku's to the ground. You wouldn't. Naruto squealed. Sasuke only looked at her with a gleam in his eyes. Hinata giggled at their antics. They sat down and talked quietly until Hinata yawned. Or rather, Hinata and Naruto talked, with occasional interjections from Sasuke. You two head to bed, said Naruto. I'm still too worked up to sleep. I'm going to train some more. It's pretty late, Hinata said. Are you sure it's okay? I'll be fine. I'll have my contingency clones nearby. If the dead last isn't smart enough to come in, let her suffer for it, Sasuke said with a smirk. Naruto stuck out her tongue at her pseudo-brother. She walked back to shore and then waved to the others as they continued back to the house. She remembered that Kakashi had said that the flicker technique would be good for her clones, so she made 210 clones, in case they learned it differently than she herself did. If a few were good, then more would be better, right? She named off 10 to be contingency clones assigned to watch the real her and told the others to practice the flicker and then disperse in 2 hours. She got to work on making her landing stick. Almost 2 hours later, she paused and realized that her self-appointed deadline was coming up. She sat down to prepare to receive the memories. The first few came, which seemed to signal the rest to disperse all at once. She gripped her head as it seemed to pulse with the strain. Within seconds she was swept into unconsciousness by the flood of experiences. She awoke with the feeling that someone was nearby. The training to be a light sleeper had been one of Kakashi's favorite weeks, although none of the genin had enjoyed it. She opened her eyes and realized it was about breakfast time, and that she had slept in the forest. The deluge of memories must have wiped out her contingency clones. She saw a dark-haired girl a little older than herself in a pink kimono walking toward her with a basket in her hand. Naruto sat up and said, "Hello, miss." "Hello," the other girl responded. Are you a shinobi? Naruto did not see the point in denying it with her leaf badge in plain sight. She pointed to where it hung around her neck. She had taken to wearing it there like Hinata. Yep. Fell asleep training. What are you doing out so early? My friend injured himself while he was cutting wood. I'm gathering herbs to make a poultice. Would you like some help? Naruto asked. That would be nice. Thank you. My name is Haku. Nice to meet you, Haku-chan. I'm Naruto. They chatted for a few minutes after Haku showed Naruto which herbs she wanted. Haku asked, do you have a bloodline ability? You have an unusual look to you, Naruto-san. Naruto chuckled nervously. Kakashi and Old Man Hokage had drilled into her the need to be discreet about her bloodline. You can't really expect me to answer that to a stranger, Haku-chan. I mean, you seem nice enough, but nice people can be gossips too. I don't blame you. Where I grew up in Mizu no Kuni, people with bloodline abilities were treated very poorly because the masses thought they were dangerous. It's not like that in Konoha, Naruto responded. Bloodline holders are treated very well, but I can sympathize with your compatriots because I was treated poorly for a similar reason. Oh? The dark-haired girl asked. Naruto laughed. I'm not going to explain that to you, either, Haku-chan. After a momentary lapse in the conversation, Haku asked, are you strong, Naruto-san? I like to think I am, at least for my age. Kakashi had also drilled into her the need to refrain from boasting to strangers. Do you have someone precious to you? Naruto nodded. My teammates, a few others. I believe that when you fight for your precious people, that's when you become truly strong. Naruto nodded again. I know what it's like to be alone. I would fight to the end for those that rescued me from it. I see that we understand each other, Naruto-san. I feel that we could be friends. It's too bad that we probably won't see each other again once you go back to Konoha. That's true, but I'll be here in Nami for a while longer. Perhaps we could meet again, Haku-nichan? I wouldn't want to make any plans, said the other girl, but I suspect we'll see each other again. She seemed to have a sad smile on her face which confused Naruto a little. I've gathered enough, so I should be getting back to my friend. She began to walk away. By the way, I'm a boy. Naruto's jaw dropped. No way. He was as pretty as Hinata, who Naruto privately thought was the prettiest of all her acquaintances her own age. She turned on her Byakugan to satisfy her curiosity. No, the other was definitely a girl. She recognized the cold-looking chakra as that which belonged to Zabuza's partner. Hey, wait. You're Zabuza's partner. Haku began to run. Naruto quickly made 20 clones to chase after her, while she herself retreated toward Tazana's house via the flicker technique. She noticed that she was much better at it than the last time she tried it the previous night. She received memories from her clones that the girl had disappeared into what looked like a mirror made of ice. She was almost back to the house when she ran into Hinata and Sasuke. You slept in the forest, didn't you, idiot? Said Sasuke. I thought you said you were just going to work off some steam. I didn't mean to, Imo-chan. It turns out that dispelling 200 shadow clones at once is a bad idea. It knocked me out and my contingency clones too. You didn't realize that Kakashi never had you disperse more than 20 at once even though he knows you can make much more than that? Sasuke said with a smirk. Laugh it up, Imo-chan. You'll get yours, Naruto promised. Sasuke's smirk faltered momentarily before reappearing. Whatever, dead last. Naruto started to cackle. Even Hinata appeared unnerved. After Naruto had composed herself she said, let's go see the others. I ran into Zabuza's partner in the woods. They ran inside and Naruto explained what had happened to the 3 jounin. At least it appears that you didn't give away much, said Kakashi. Zabuza already knew you had the Byakugan. Confirming that the partner has a bloodline ability is good. You said she disappeared into a mirror made of ice? Naruto nodded. My clones examined it while I came back to report. She probably has the Huton, said Anko. It's the only ice-related bloodline we know of and Kiri's Yuki clan was known to possess it before they got wiped out in the bloodline purges. She could easily be a survivor. Kakashi scolded Naruto for dispelling so many clones at once, but admitted he should have explicitly told her. They settled down to breakfast and fell into the normal routine. After the run-in with Zabuza's partner, the Jounin thought it best to leave either one of them or all the Jonin at Tazana's house to protect Tsunami and Inari while the rest of the team accompanied Tazana to the bridge. Naruto and Hinata accompanied Tsunami into town once each so that she could buy a few things. They were appalled at the conditions the people of Nami were suffering under and could not wait to get rid of Gato. After the three Genin had learned the flicker, Kakashi brought out several small slips of paper. These are chakra papers. They are used to find your primary chakra affinity. Unless you have a bloodline ability that balances two chakra natures, most shinobi will have one chakra nature that dominates. He held one slip in his right hand and channeled chakra through it, which caused it to wrinkle. When I channel my chakra through the paper, it wrinkles. This means that my primary affinity is lightning. He pulled out another slip and repeated the procedure. This time the paper crumbled. However, if I hold back my lightning chakra nature, it crumbles, signifying earth. I personally have trained all 5 chakra natures, but earth is my second best after my natural lightning affinity. Most Jounin level shinobi have at least 2 chakra natures they have trained. Having all 5 trained is rare. I did it because of my Sharingan. Eventually you'll probably want to do the same, Sasuke-kun. For you girls, it's not as important and you would probably be better off specializing in 2 or 3, eventually. Using only one type of chakra nature can leave you susceptible to that nature's weaknesses. As a Genin, you're not expected to be able to use elemental techniques, but you guys are advanced enough to start on your first. Each chakra nature can be mastered by doing elemental chakra manipulation. This allows you to manipulate each element directly and improves your ability to use techniques that utilize that chakra nature. Think of it as a specialized chakra control exercise. Each of the Genin used the paper. Naruto split, signifying wind. Sasuke and Hinata's both burned, signifying fire. Kakashi told Naruto, like Asuma said when he first arrived, wind is rare in High no Kuni. Wind is actually my worst chakra nature, although I have mastered the basic manipulation exercises, so I'll have him start you on the wind chakra manipulation and have him teach you a wind technique. Kakashi told the other two, fire is the most common affinity in High no Kuni, so it's not surprising that the two of you have it. The Uchiha clan is especially famous for using fire techniques. Anko is better at using fire than I am, so I'll have her help me teach you 2 fire manipulation and teach Hinata a technique. Sasuke, I think you'd be better served by mastering the 2 techniques you know rather than learning a third. Asuma taught Naruto the leaf-cutting exercise, which involved grinding 2 planes of wind together to create a blade of wind. He told her that wind techniques generally came in 3 classes: pushing, cutting, and eroding techniques. Pushing were the easiest and eroding the hardest. He taught her a pushing technique called Great Breakthrough. It was the one he had used to clear Zabuza's fog technique. By the end of the week, Naruto was able to cut a leaf quickly and easily. She had utilized shadow clones to get it down. After her improvement with the flicker, she had figured out that they were very useful for learning as long as she did not dismiss too many at once. She also became proficient in the Great Breakthrough technique. Asuma told her to expand the manipulation training by practicing making multiple wind blades at once and by cutting harder materials, like a rock. The most difficult wind training involved cutting a waterfall. Susuke and Hinata also mastered the most basic part of fire manipulation. Sasuke had a head start due to already being proficient in 2 fire techniques. Hinata continued to be excellent in all forms of chakra manipulation. Hinata learned the fireball technique. Kakashi told them about the way that wind techniques could magnify fire techniques, which made for some interesting collaboration techniques, but told them to be careful so that it did not literally blow up in their faces. About 10 days after Naruto's confrontation with Haku, they approached the bridge and noticed it was enshrouded by fog and piteous cries were coming from the workers. Demons. Monsters. Anko is going to be annoyed that she missed out again, commented Asuma. We're going to have to give her Gato to placate her, Kakashi agreed. Waiting at the foot of the bridge were 3 figures: Zabuza, the hunter Nin, and a man with spiky olive green hair wearing a black vest with bandages under it. Kurosaki Raiga, the thunder of the hidden mist, former member of Kiri's 7 swordsmen, A-rank missing Nin, said Kakashi. This is your last chance to hand over the bridge builder, Konoha Nin, said Zabuza. I'm afraid we can't do that, said Kakashi. Good, said Zabuza. I was looking forward to a rematch with Neckbeard-san. You didn't get enough last time, no Brows-san? Retorted Asuma. I'll take Raiga, Kakashi told his Genin. Hinata and Sasuke, take the hunter Nin. Naruto, guard the client. This was the protocol they had established when they had to fight a single hard target while guarding a client. If there were multiple targets, Hinata usually had guard duty. Also, have your clones keep us mist-free. Use a wide, low-power Great Breakthrough for that. Naruto made clones to watch each of the fights and disperse the mist and sent a pair back toward Tazuna's house. She tracked all of the fights, but mainly paid attention to Hinata and Sasuke's fight with the girl who had called herself Haku. She noticed that she had a hard time following Raiga for some reason. It was like something was interfering with her Byakugan. Up till now she had seen through Genjutsu quite easily with it. She wondered if Raiga had a bloodline ability. Both of the Jounin fights turned into stalemates. Zabuza had managed to get his giant sword back somehow. He was fighting much more carefully so that he did not break it again. Kakashi and Raiga both seemed to be able to predict each other's moves. Hinata was doing pretty well against Haku with Sasuke backing her up. Both of the girls were nimble fighters. Naruto could tell that Haku was better, but Sasuke's help was making the fight even. Haku fought mainly with senbone needles, some of which she made from her chakra, which Hinata was able to deflect with her chakra-coated hands. Haku was too fast for Hinata to get a clean strike on her and disable her tenketsu, but Hinata had managed to get a few glancing blows on her, which Naruto knew from experience were still painful. Sasuke had almost gotten Haku with his wire techniques, but she had managed to avoid them so far. Finally, Haku seemed to pause and then release a large burst of chakra. Slabs of what appeared to be ice sprang up around her and then wrapped around to enclose Hinata and Sasuke in a dome of ice slabs. The slabs were suspended in the air and had narrow spaces between them. Naruto frowned and said to two of her clones, "Try and pull them out." The clones concentrated but then shook their heads. One of her clones said, "It's no good, boss. There's a bunch of chakra in the slabs. I can't get a lock on either of them." "Same here," said the other. "Try it again, closer," she said. Both clones approached the domes, periodically trying to pull them out. Finally they were right outside the dome. They both shook their heads and dispelled. Inside the dome, things were not going as well. Haku seemed to be able to enter the slabs and to shoot her senbone from many of the slabs at once. Naruto could tell that Hinata was getting exhausted and was near the end of her endurance. Sasuke was doing better, but that was mainly because Haku seemed to be concentrating on Hinata. Naruto decided that she had to help her friends. She made 20 clones and said to Tazuna, "My clones will take you to your house. Anko-san will protect you. I need to help my friends." One of her clones disguised herself as an adult version of herself so that she had the arm length and the height to carry Tazuna and picked him up. The other clones made a formation around her and they left with coordinated flickers. Naruto flickered to the edge of the dome. She arrived in time to see Hinata drop due to exhaustion and blood loss. "Hinata," she yelled and ran into the dome and stopped next to Sasuke, who was standing next to Hinata's prone form. "What are you doing here, dead last?" said Sasuke. "Where's Tazuna?" "Nice to see you too, Imo-chan," Naruto responded. "Sent him with some clones to Anko-san." "Why are you doing this, Haku-chan?" said Naruto, called to the fake hunter Nin. "Don't you know that if the bridge builder dies then Gato will destroy this whole country? Hundreds of people will suffer and die or worse?" "I truly regret what is going to happen," Haku replied from the mirror-like surface of one of the slabs, "but I must serve my precious person's will. To further Zabuza-sama's dream, I will kill my heart and become a true shinobi." She paused and then continued with regret in her voice. "I feel like we could have been friends, Naruto-san. I'm sorry." "I won't let you do this, Haku-chan," Naruto yelled. "You're too nice a person to blight your soul like this. I'm afraid it's too late for me, but for Zabuza-sama I would damn my soul to the deepest hell regardless." "He doesn't deserve you," Naruto shouted as the senbone began to rain down upon them. Naruto and Sasuke quickly moved back to back, bracketing Hinata who lay between them at their feet. Each of them had a kunai in each hand to deflect the needles. Naruto, despite her near 360-degree field of view, could barely track the senbone due to their speed. Unlike Hinata, who had practiced with the Byakugan for years, Naruto was still getting used to seeing so much. The needles coming in on her left would distract her from the ones coming in on her right. Worse, she kept having to restrain herself from reacting to the needles coming in behind her toward Sasuke. Her only saving grace was that her regeneration and stamina was letting her ignore the strikes that did hit her. "These senbone are made using my Huton bloodline ability," said Haku. "I will never run out. You should give up." She could see and hear Sasuke struggling to deflect his needles, but he was keeping up for the most part. Suddenly, Sasuke's breathing became a lot smoother and his movements sharper and less frantic. She could see that he was concentrating chakra in his eyes. She smiled, happy for her pseudo-brother, that he had awoken his bloodline ability. On the other hand, the blood loss was finally catching up to her. She was certain that if she got a moment to rest, she would be fine, but Haku was relentless with the senbone shower. She put more effort into trying to deflect them all. I see I must escalate matters, said Haku sorrowfully. Spears of ice, several centimeters in diameter, rained down on them. There were not nearly as many of them, but they absolutely could not miss any and had to make sure to guard Hinata at their feet. I can't keep up, Naruto thought as she barely deflected one and then had to stretch to get one coming in from the other side. Even seeing them coming isn't enough. She tried channeling more chakra to her eyes to see if it would help her distinguish the incoming missiles better. She felt a pulling on her forehead and then the field of view in front of her snapped into focus. She could see the trajectories of the incoming ice spears and see which ones would hit first. The view behind her remained as it had. Her perception of time sped up so that she noticed every detail in front of her. She began to move more efficiently as she now knew exactly how much to move in order to deflect the spears. She began to hear Sasuke's breathing getting rougher. He was being worn down. Suddenly she saw Sasuke diving to intercept an ice spear that was coming in low. It looked like it would hit Hinata's head. Sasuke stopped it, but a second spear hit Sasuke in the thigh. "It's up to you, dead last," Sasuke said. "I had hoped we could all go after Itachi together." He fainted from the shock. Naruto felt rage bubble up inside of her. She vaguely heard Haku talking, but ignored her. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. She would not let Hinata and Sasuke die because she wasn't strong enough. She could feel a malicious chakra bubbling up with the rage. She wrenched the chakra from its source and made it her own. She expelled the chakra from her body and wrapped it around her. Her hair lengthened and bunched into 10 tail-like strands. She roared and pushed out, causing her hair to puncture the 10 of the mirrors, shattering them. She vaguely registered Haku's gasp as she dropped to the ground and tried to back away. 2 of Naruto's hair tails shot forward and wrapped around the other kunoichi, binding her arms to her side. Naruto struggled to get a handle on her rage. "Why?" she yelled. Sasuke-kun was a bit of a jerk, but Hinata-chan was the kindest person I've ever met. She didn't deserve this. Neither of them did. Why are you doing this for him? A monster that would condemn an entire country to rape, death, and slavery? "I'm like you and your friends," said Haku quietly, looking at the ground. "I have a bloodline, except that I didn't know it when I was little. In Kiri and Mizu no Kuni, bloodline holders are considered monsters. The 4th Mizukage had us rounded up and slaughtered after one of the bloodline clans revolted. My mother hid her ability and married my father without telling him. One day I accidentally awoke my ability and my father saw me use it. He accused my mother of being a demon and a monster. He rounded up the other villagers and they killed her in front of me. In my fear and anger my bloodline activated again and I killed them all with ice spears. I ran and lived on the street in one of the bigger villages, hiding that I was a monster, and begging for months. Zabuza-sama took me in and rescued me. He taught me to be a shinobi and made me his tool. He gave me a purpose and for that I have served him." She looked up at Naruto. "I am a broken tool now. Please kill me now that I am no longer of use to Zabuza-sama." Naruto's heart broke. "Listen, Haku-chan. You aren't a monster or a tool. Certainly not for holding a bloodline." She paused. "I've been treated like a monster most of my life, too. I've just recently gotten friends, real friends, not a master who treats me like a tool. It makes a big difference." They both heard shouting. Naruto looked around and noticed that Raiga was down, presumably dead. Asuma was holding the wind blade sprouting from his trench knife to Zabuza's throat. Zabuza's right arm was sheared off at the elbow. Kakashi was leaning over Sasuke and Hinata. One of her clones was holding onto a short kid. "Zabuza-sama," Haku shouted. She tried to wiggle free. Naruto increased the amount of chakra she had instinctively been channeling into her hair. Suddenly clapping and jeering came out of the fog. Naruto saw a short, fat man leading a gang of thugs armed with clubs and swords. Only a few of them had active chakra systems. The fat man, presumably Gato, said, "Go on, finish them off. That way, I don't have to pay them," he laughed. "Not that I was planning to. It's so much better hiring missing nin. That way I can kill them and collect their bounties rather than paying them." "We no longer have a quarrel, Asuma-san," said Zabuza. "Agreed," said Asuma. Zabuza undid his belt and cinched it around his arm, just below the bicep. He picked up his sword left-handed. "No one double-crosses me in lives," Zabuza roared as he charged into the thugs. "A million ryo to the man that kills him." Gato screamed as he dived into the crowd. A few of the thugs hesitantly stepped forward, but then merged back into the group as Zabuza charged forward. He only targeted the thugs directly in front of him, which allowed some of them to get strikes in. The thugs surrounding Gato backed away and the fat man fell to the ground. "I'll give you anything you want." Gato pleaded. Anything? Asked Zabuza. Yes. I want you to die, Zabuza roared as he cleaved Gato's head from his body. With the death of Gato, the life seemed to drain out of Zabuza and he collapsed. Naruto heard Haku sobbing quietly. He killed our meal ticket. One of the thugs yelled. Let's finish him off. Another yelled, they can't get all of us. The thugs seemed to be gathering their courage. Naruto prepared to summon a bunch of shadow clones, when a crossbow bolt slammed into a random thug. You need to work on your aim, brat, she heard Anko call. A kunai slammed into the main rabble-rouser right between the eyes. That's how you do it. Naruto refocused her Byakugan and saw Anko, Inari, Tazuna, and Tsunami at the head of a mob of villagers armed with clubs, pitchforks, and a few crossbows. The thugs started to run, with the villagers chasing after them. Naruto summoned 100 clones to help run them down. If I let you go, will you behave, Haku-chan? Naruto asked. Yes, Naruto-san, the other girl said. Naruto let go of the chakra she was holding and it faded. She looked at her hair, which was now over twice as long as she was tall. She took a kunai and hacked it off at about waist length. She could get it fixed later, but for now she didn't want it dragging. They walked over to where everyone was gathering by Sasuke and Hinata. They were both still unconscious. How are they, sensei? Naruto asked. Hinata-chan will recover just fine with some rest, Kakashi replied. She's mainly just exhausted, with some blood loss. Sasuke is the same, but he also has the wound in his thigh. Luckily it's not very deep. With some stitches and some rest he'll be okay too. He just won't want to be walking for the next week. Can I go see Zabuza-sama, Naruto-san? Haku asked. Naruto looked at Kakashi who nodded. Okay, Haku-chan, she said. Naruto and Asuma followed Haku over to where Zabuza lay. He opened his eyes as they approached. I'm sorry I was not a better tool, Zabuza-sama, Haku said quietly. Zabuza chuckled. Haku, you were a better tool than I deserved. If I were a better master, I would not have let you think that way. We live in a harsh world, but that doesn't mean you can't take joy for yourself in it. Find some friends. I considered you a daughter. If I had been a better man, I would have told you before I was on my deathbed. Deathbed? Surely not. Haku protested. Let me go, Haku. A swordsman without an arm is useless. I refuse. Better to have gone down fighting. With that he closed his eyes and his breathing slowed and stopped. Haku cried silently. Haku can come with us, right, Asuma-sensei? Naruto asked. Asuma hesitated, but then said, it would probably be okay if her situation is what I think it is. We'd need to ask her some questions and then send ahead to ask Tauzen. Since we need to wait for the bridge to finish and Sasuke-kun's leg to heal, we'd have the time. Naruto's clones approached and she told them to start dispelling in groups of 10 every 2 minutes while she sat down to meditate. Asuma's fight had gone largely as his first fight with Zabuza, stalemate until Kakashi could help. Kakashi's fight had been a stalemate until Kakashi had made a shadow clone to ask one of Naruto's clones to separate Raiga from the boy on his back. Naruto's clone has a hard time locking onto the boy or even finding him with her Byakugan. She had tried sensing him with her eyes closed and finally found him with her chakra sense. Kakashi had made her practice replacing her teammates without the Byakugan active and they'd discovered she could sense chakra, although it didn't have the range that her Byakugan did nor did it give her as much information, in most instances. Kakashi had said that her mother had been able to do this and that Naruto could train it to improve the range and the information it provided. With all the other things she wanted to do, Naruto had put it at a low priority. After separating Raiga and the boy, Kakashi had managed to overcome him. Evidently the boy had a bloodline ability that he had been using to help Raiga predict Kakashi's moves and that had hindered the Sharingan and Byakugan. Kakashi had fired off another water dragon missile at Zabuza, allowing Asuma to break the stalemate, and then ran to check on Hinata and Sasuke. The clones that had escorted Tazuna had arrived to find Anko interrogating 2 samurai rejects that had shown up to kidnap Tsunami or Inari. Inari had found his courage and convinced the others to allow him to round up the villagers to help. Naruto stood up and rejoined the others with Haku following her. Sasuke and Hinata were both awake and had been told what had happened. I think we should debrief this evening or tomorrow, said Kakashi. I'm sure the Genin, at least, would like nothing better than a good nap. Sounds good to me, Naruto said, and the others agreed. Anko, do you think you could secure Gato's mansion with the forces Inari rounded up? Kakashi asked. Yeah, I think he had at least 2/3 of them here at the bridge. Go ahead and do that before someone runs off with everything or they burn it to the ground. Kakashi picked up Sasuke and Naruto and the others followed him back to Tazuna's house. When they got back to their room, Hinata collapsed into her sleeping bag. Haku was locked in Inari's room with a chakra suppression seal on her. Inari would sleep with his mother. Naruto was feeling worn out, but she wanted to check a few things first. She pulled out a small mirror from her pack. She activated her Byakugan and then increased the chakra to her eyes. The third eye on her forehead opened. It was red with a small black dot in the center and a single black tomoe rotating around the dot. Sharingan, she thought to herself. She tried to put chakra into her hair to move it, but she could not get the chakra to stay in it. Maybe she had to be angry to do it. She put the mirror away and climbed into her sleeping bag. Sleep came quickly. Naruto awoke on a gray, blasted landscape. Craters marked the land around her. The sky was open to the stars. Instead of the moon, she saw a much larger blue/brown/white orb up in the sky. A tall wall stood before her with a large gate made out of narrow bars in the center of it. On the gate hung a paper with the kanji for seal on it. As she did not see anything else to do, she approached the gate. "We meet at last, jailer," said a deep, masculine voice from within the gate. She could see only large eyes hovering in the darkness. She activated her Byakugan and saw a very intense fox-like silhouette with 9 tails, containing several orders of magnitude more chakra than everyone in Konoha combined. She looked at the cause of most of what was wrong with her life. She steeled herself. She was not going to give him the satisfaction of appearing scared or angry. "Kyubi? Where are we? How did I get here?" The Kyubi ignored her questions and instead said, "So it is true. You look just like the pictures I've seen of her, except that you haven't mutilated your eyebrows and you bear my marks." He seemed pretty smug about the last part. "Who? Otsutsuki Kaguya? Who was she?" Naruto asked. "That Zetsu thing mentioned that I felt like his mother, who was named that." "I don't know who Zetsu is or was, but Otsutsuki Kaguya created chakra by meddling in things she shouldn't have. She ate the forbidden fruit of the Shinju tree. Her son Hagoromo, known as the Rikudo Sennin, spread it and taught people how to use it hoping that it would bring people together in peace." He laughed bitterly. He was a noble, if foolish, man. "What happened to her?" asked Naruto. "There are legends about Rikudo Sennin-sama, but nothing about his mother." This time the Kyubi's laugh was malicious. "She went insane from the power. She decided that the only way the world would know peace was to trap everyone in a genjutsu, forcing a peaceful dream world upon everyone. Envious that her sons had inherited chakra from her, she merged with the Shinju tree and turned into the Juubi. Her sons defeated the thing she had become and Hagoromo sealed the Juubi into himself. Near the end of his life, Hagoromo split the chakra of the Juubi into the 9 portions of various power, creating the Baijuu. We consider him our father. He sealed the Juubi's body into the moon. So in a way, Kaguya was my grandmother and my mother." "What does she have to do with me?" Naruto asked. "Why do I look like her?" "I don't know the why, other than that you're her descendant, but I can tell you the what. People with unfinished business often leave some of their chakra behind. This chakra seeks out similar chakra, usually that of a descendant, and binds to it, influencing the development of the person whose chakra it cleaves to. The bigger the chakra, the greater the influence. This is called transmigration. In most cases the influence is small, but someone like Kaguya." He trailed off. No one knows if the transmigrant is like the original because of the lingering chakra or if the transmigrant attracts the lingering chakra because they are like the original. Probably some of both. Some people believe that transmigrants are the original person's soul reincarnated, but there is some evidence against it. "What's that?" Naruto asked. She didn't like the idea that she was some crazy lady reborn. "The 2 most commonly transmigrated people I know of are my father's human sons, Indra and Asura, the founders of the Uchiha and Senju lines, respectively. At least once, the transmigrants have called the spirits of their progenitors into this world to talk to them. Coincidentally, you are quite familiar with one of Indra's transmigrants. I can feel the stink of his chakra on you." "Who is it?" she asked. "Your Uchiha teammate. I can also tell that you've met Asura's transmigrant, but I don't know who it is, since I wasn't awake at the time." "Am I doomed to go crazy, like your mother?" she asked, trying to keep the worry out of her voice. The Kyubi laughed. "Do you believe in fate, little rabbit?" "No," she shouted. "I'll make my own destiny." "Then why worry? Asura and Indra's transmigrants act a lot like they did, but not exactly. Each time they transmigrate, their competition plays out differently. If it's any consolation, Kaguya was viewed as a benevolent goddess for much of her long life. To answer your original question, we're in a representation of your seal. It is connected to and mirrors your mindscape. Why does my mindscape look like a barren wasteland, and what's the blue moon thingy? She asked. This place represents the moon, and the blue orb above us is the earth. The connection to the moon you inherited from Kaguya. Why are you being so helpful? She asked. You're not what I imagined at all. I would like nothing more than to escape, little rabbit, he said. My name is Naruto, not little rabbit, she snarled, irritated at the condescension in the nickname. Ah, perhaps you are a fox in rabbit furs? The fox laughed. Very well, Naruto. Like I said, I would like to escape, but it's unlikely without your cooperation. I tried to influence you when your rage on the bridge summoned my chakra. However, since I was created out of Kaguya's chakra, your chakra contains an aspect that is very similar to my chakra, and you can assimilate mine with very little effort. In light of that, I would like to propose a partnership. Are you afraid I will absorb you like Zetsu? She asked. The fox chuckled. The seal protects me from you, just as it does you from me. You might be able to absorb me, if you open the seal. On the other hand, I might be able to escape when you opened it, or you might burn out trying to absorb my incredible chakra reservoir. Are you willing to take the chance? Before I agree to any partnership, I want to know why you attacked Konoha. In the days of your first Hokage, who was the previous Asura transmigrant, the Indra transmigrant, Uchiha Madara, thought to use me as his tool. He hypnotized me with his cursed Sharingan and sent me against his former friend. The Hokage's wife Uzumaki Mito used your clan's Fuuinjutsu expertise to seal me inside herself. My clan were Fuuinjutsu experts? Asked Naruto. Why hasn't anyone told me? I neither know nor care why you were never told of this. At the end of her life, the fox continued, Mito sent for your mother, Uzumaki Kushina, to take her place as my jailer. This was right before Uzushio was destroyed. My mother? Naruto said excitedly. What can you tell me about her? Not much, admitted the QB. She kept me chained inside her seal, and it was rare that I became aware of the outside world. She had straight red hair and violet eyes. She looked much like you did before Kaguya's chakra awoke fully in you, other than her coloring. She was an excitable tomboy. That is all that I can tell you. Other than that, her husband, your father, was Namikaze Minato, your fourth Hokage. The fourth was my father? Why did he seal you inside me? Again, I can't tell you much, other than the events that led to it, the QB said. A female Jinchuriki's seal weakens while in childbirth. When you were being born, I tried to escape. Your father kept me locked inside the seal. A masked man with a single visible Sharingan kidnapped you, and while your father was rescuing you, extracted me from your mother. He enslaved me with his cursed eye and made me attack your village, when I would have rather just have gone my own way. Your father sealed half of me into himself and half into you by summoning the Shinigami. Doing so cost him his life, as the Shinigami dragged him and my yin half into its belly. Your mother died from a combination of childbirth, having me extracted, which is almost always fatal for the Jinchuriki, and being injured protecting you from me when I attacked to try and prevent being sealed again. So you don't know who the masked man was? Naruto asked. No. Just that his eye was the mate of the Sharingan your sensei hides under his badge. What would this partnership entail? Asked Naruto. I will give you my chakra when you need it in exchange for access to your senses. That's it? She asked. You have not idea how sick of looking at just this cell I am. The only consolation is that I'm not chained like your mother kept me. Perhaps later we can renegotiate if we come to trust each other. How would I do this? She asked. Simply tear a corner of the seal. This will open the seal a small amount, allowing you and I greater access to each other. Naruto hesitated. She was not sure if she could trust the fox. The mitigating factor was that she was able to absorb the fox's chakra on the bridge with no ill effects that she could tell. She thought that meant that the fox's ability to influence her was limited. In some respects, she also felt sorry for him. Okay, I'll do it. But if this is an attempt to escape or possess me, I'll give a try at absorbing you. The fox snorted. She walked closer to the gate and tore a small corner off the paper. She felt a surge of chakra, which subsided to a slight pressure which gradually became unnoticeable. You might notice a small degradation in your chakra control, but you have remarkably good chakra control for a human with your size of chakra reserves. It should not take much time to overcome. I hope this partnership works out for us both, said Naruto. However, now I'm tired and want to sleep. How do I leave? Simply will it, said the QB. She did so and quickly fell asleep. Naruto woke to Kakashi opening the door. She looked up and he signaled her to follow him. She got up and followed him outside to the docks. Can you tell me what happened during the fight, Naruto? Her sensei asked. She explained how the fight began and how she intervened when it looked like Hinata would falter. She explained how she and Sasuke were barely holding their own. Sasuke activated his Sharingan during the fight, she said with a smile. That's good. I'm sure he's happy about that, said her sensei. I activated mine too, she said. She activated her Byakugan and then opened her third eye. You have the Sharingan and the Byakugan both? Kakashi said, shocked. She nodded. I was surprised too. It helped me quite a bit against the ice spears that Haku was throwing at us, but only what was in front of me. The rest of my field of view was like the normal Byakugan. I hope that Sasuke doesn't get jealous. The Uchiha tend to suffer from that more than others. You three are doing so well together. What happened after that? You were putting out a lot of power. I think I tapped into the Kyuubi's power, she said. Naruto, Kakashi said, I know what the Kyuubi feels like and that wasn't it. I talked to him while I was sleeping. He told me more about who Otsutsuki Kaguya was. You talked to the Kyuubi? Her sensei said worriedly. She nodded. Is it alright if we wait until we get back to Konoha to talk about it? I need to tell Hokage Jiken too. Alright, he said reluctantly. Anko successfully captured Gato's mansion. The local wealth minus the cost of 2A rank missions was returned to the people of Nami no Kuni. Anko had sealed up all his documents, which included bank books for offshore banks in Hai no Kuni and elsewhere. The following day they held a funeral service for Zabuza and Raiga. Naruto suggested using Zabuza's sword as a tombstone, but Asuma shot the idea down. He said that if they did that, it would just be stolen. Since the two had been part of the Seven Swordsmen, their swords were valuable to Kiri. He said that the Hokage could use them to help the bloodline rebels or obtain concessions from Kiri. Kakashi asked Haku and the boy that had been helping Raiga, Ranmaru, what they wanted to do. I would like to go with you to Konoha. Zabuza-sama told me I should find friends. I think I could be Naruto-san's friend, if she'll have me. I would like that, Naruto said. I've never had many friends. A new one would be great. Do you think you could be my friend too? Asked Ranmaru shyly. Of course, said Naruto. Hinata-chan and Sasuke-kun will too, right guys? Hinata said, I would like that. Sasuke just grunted. He had not been pleased that Haku was hanging around. His pride had taken a hit due to their battle. You'll have to excuse Imo-chan, Naruto said. He'll come around eventually. Anko and Asuma interviewed Haku and Ranmaru and gave them both preliminary approval to come to Konoha. They said that the Hokage would give them the final answer on what options were open to them when they arrived. As the threat level was reduced to what a Jinan team was supposed to be able to handle, Asuma and Anko returned to Konoha. The rest of the time in Nami passed quickly. Kakashi had them take it easy on the training, saying that Naruto and Hinata needed a break. One of the two or Kakashi accompanied Tazuna to the bridge every day. When it was Naruto's turn, she usually made a bunch of shadow clones to help with construction. At the end of the week, the bridge was done and Sasuke was well enough to walk. Haku had made a poultice that had helped him heal. While it did not exactly endear her to the Uchiha, he began to treat her as well as he treated anyone other than Naruto and Hinata, which is to say that he mostly ignored her rather than glaring at her as he had before. Hinata had been about to offer her own healing balm, but Naruto stopped her so that Haku would have a chance to make up for causing the injury. The 4 Konoha shinobi plus the 2 former companions of the Kiri missing nin stood on the bridge with Tazuna and his family. The Konoha shinobi were all anxious to get home, but Naruto was also sad to be leaving. Tsunami was a nice woman and Inari had shaped up. Even the old drunk had grown on her. Inari sniffled as he hugged Naruto and Hinata. He bowed to Sasuke and Kakashi. I'll miss you all, he said. Hey, don't worry, Inari-kun, Naruto said. I'm sure we'll come back sometime. If you're ever in Konoha, look us up, okay? Okay, Nichin, he said. With a final wave from the girls, the shinobi took off at a run. When they arrived in Konoha, they went straight to the Hokage's office. The debriefing was short, because Asuma and Anko had already reported in. The Hokage asked Haku and Ranmaru what they wanted. I'd like to be a medic nin or a doctor, said Haku. I don't know, said Ranmaru, I'd like a friend, I guess. I will find you someone to train you in medical techniques, Haku, said the Hokage. As for a friend, I'm sure you will both find several. As a start, How about I find you an apartment to share in Naruto's building? That would be great, Jiken, Naruto exclaimed. Thank you, Hokage-sama, Haku and Ranmaru both said. You'll need to have one more interview with one of the Yamanaka clan, said the Hokage. It won't be very invasive, but we need to make sure you aren't moles. Haku sighed and nodded. Okay, Hokage-sama. I'll have someone direct you to his office, said the old man. He called in his secretary and gave instructions to her. Haku and Ranmaru followed her out. Hokage-sama, said Kakashi, that's it for our team report, but there's something that Naruto-chan and I need to talk to you about. Very well, said the Hokage. Hinata-kun, Sasuke-kun, you're dismissed. Hinata and Sasuke said goodbye and left. Naruto-chan has awoken another bloodline and says that she's made contact with the Kyuubi, said Kakashi. What? Exclaimed the Hokage. Naruto activated her Byakugan and then opened her third eye. Sharingan, said the Hokage. Naruto nodded. It seems to work like I've heard described. I haven't copied any techniques, but it made tracking and predicting Haku's movements during the fight much easier. Can you activate it without the Byakugan? Asked the Hokage. I'm not sure. So far I haven't, but that might mean I just haven't figured out how. What's this about talking to the Kyuubi? Asked the Hokage. I got mad when I thought Sasuke and Hinata were going to die and I felt its chakra boiling up inside me. I wrested control of it from him and used it. My hair lengthened and became like arms or tails. 10 of them, I think. I was able to use the hair arms to shatter Haku's mirrors and capture her. Later I tried to move my hair again, but wasn't able to. Kakashi said, I remember what the Kyuubi felt like, both during the attack and one of the few times that its previous Jinchuriki used it, and it didn't feel like that. On the bridge, it felt like Naruto, just heavier and more oppressive. Naruto said, I can explain that. She went on to talk about what the Kyuubi had said about Kagaya, Hagoromo, and transmigration. I'm worried, Jiken. I don't want to go crazy. The Hokage smiled. I think you'll be fine, Naruto-chan. You've got a very good heart. The Kyuubi said that Kaguya was benevolent too. She wailed, she still went crazy. The thing you need to remember, Naruto-chan, the Hokage said, is to not only to do good, but to remember why you're doing good. From the story it sounds like Kaguya wanted to protect people and bring peace, but the way she wanted to do it robbed people of being people. Remember that it's the people that are important and you'll be great. Thanks, Jiken, she said. Oh, the Kyuubi also told me who my father is and what happened on the day I was born. The Hokage got serious. Naruto-kun, I want you to promise me to keep your father's identity a secret until you're a Tokubutsu Jounin or 18, at least. I promise I won't tell anyone, she said with a sigh. It's just people have always treated me like I'm a nobody and now that I know it's not true, I can't tell anyone. The Hokage pulled her into a hug. Naruto-chan, you've always been someone special, no matter your parentage. Thanks, Jiken, she said, but you know what I mean. I do and I'm sorry it needs to be this way. Is there anything you can give me to prove it, in case something happens to you? She said. I assume I have an inheritance. Yes, you do have an inheritance. My student, Jiraiya-kun, has proof and your parents will. I'll give copies to Kakashi as well. I'm afraid that your apartment isn't secure enough for you to hold on to them. Thanks, Jiken, she said. The Kyuubi said that a masked man tried to kidnap me and then ripped him out of Mom. We've long suspected something like that happened, said the Hokage. He said that the masked man had a single Sharingan eye and that it was the twin to the one Sensei has. Kakashi looked flabbergasted. He collected himself and said, I'm afraid that is impossible, Naruto-chan. That man died. Even if he survived, Obito was one of the most loyal people I've ever met. There's no way he would betray our sensei like that. The Kyuubi seemed pretty positive. Perhaps someone came along and took the other eye? Asked the Hokage. If that's true it would be someone from Iwa, most likely, said Kakashi. Sensei was pretty unpopular with them, too. I've never heard of any Iwa shinobi with a Sharingan, or any missing nin, either, other than Itachi. I'll ask Jiraiya-kun to look into it, said the Hokage. One last thing, Jiken, Naruto said. I want to tell Hinata-chan and Sasuke-kun about the Kyuubi and Kaguya. Are you sure? Asked the Hokage. I think Hinata-kun would take it well, but the Uchiha tend to get jealous. Yeah, that's why. I think Sasuke will take it better if it's explained to him rather than if he just wondered about it. Plus, the Kyuubi says Sasuke-kun is the transmigrant of the Rikudo Sennin's son Indra, The first Uchiha. He also said, the other son, Asura, the first Senju, is someone I've met, probably a Senju. What do you think, Kakashi? Said the Hokage. I trust Naruto-chan on this. She's gotten Sasuke-kun to open up more than anyone else has since that night. Alright, said the Hokage. I'll allow it. As for the Senju transmigrant, that's somewhat tricky. My student Tsunade is the last Senju and she hasn't been in the village for a long time. However, the Senju married into a lot of clans, especially to clan heirs. In fact, I think only the Hyuga and the Uchiha, among Konoha's clans, lack at least some Senju blood. I told you already that my wife was a Senju. And of course, the Uzumaki were an offshoot of the Senju, but I don't think you could be the transmigrant of both. Naruto nodded. The Kyuubi would have said if I were. The Hokage said, I want you to be cautious with the Kyuubi, Naruto-kun. Even if it wasn't responsible for the attack on the day of your birth, doesn't mean it has your best interest or Konoha's best interest at heart. Okay, Jiken. Anything else from either of you? Asked the Hokage. Both of them shook their heads. Good day to you then, he said, dismissing them. Naruto went to the team meeting spot at the normal time the next day. Hinata and Sasuke were arriving just as she did. This was pretty normal, as they had gotten accustomed to each other's habits. Unlike most days, no one felt like sparring. They were all working on chakra nature manipulation. Naruto was working on cutting her leaf horizontally and vertically at the same time. However, she could not concentrate as she waited for Kakashi to show. Her planned confession to her teammates was spoiling her efforts. Hinata and Sasuke had built a little campfire and were both trying to prevent their leaves from burning, having already mastered burning them with only their chakra. Something bothering you, Naruto-chan? Asked Hinata. Yeah, I'll tell you about it when Kakashi-sensei gets here. Sasuke looked up from where he was working, but didn't say anything. Finally, their sensei arrived. Traditionally, the few days after any mission higher than D rank is decompression time. Realistically, you guys had that while you were still in Nami no Kuni, but I'd still like you to take today easy. Sensei, I'd like to talk to the team about some personal matters, Naruto said. She activated her Byakugan to make sure no one could eavesdrop and waited until her team knelt beside her on the ground. Kakashi leaned against a tree nearby. He seemed content to let them work this out themselves. Naruto said, this is very personal and some of it constitutes an S-rank secret of the village that I've received permission to talk to you about since you're my teammates and likely to find out anyway. I'm asking you not to tell anyone about what I tell you. I'm just making sure no one walks in on us. Sasuke looked as if he were about to make a snide comment but, after seeing her obvious jitters, he opted not to. You know how they teach you in the academy that the fourth killed the Kyuubi? Her teammates both nodded. It turns out that the Kyuubi is not alive in the conventional sense. It's not really a demon, it's a mass of sentient chakra. Since chakra can be used, but not destroyed, the Kyuubi can't be killed. There are actually 8 others like the Kyuubi that are collectively called the Baijuu. They are ranked by their number of tails from 1 to 9, with the Kyuubi being the most powerful. What happened to the Kyuubi, if the fourth didn't and couldn't kill it? Asked Sasuke. You guys have both seen and used storage scrolls, right? She asked. They both nodded. Well, the Kyuubi is too powerful to be sealed into a scroll or other object. You have to seal it into a person. An infant works best. You know how I've never been willing to tell anyone when my birthday is? It's October 10th, isn't it? Said Sasuke as he realized where the conversation was headed. Yes, she said quietly as she bowed her head. Is that why everyone treats you so poorly? Asked Hinata, who scooted over to give her a hug. Faye, said Sasuke. Anyone with brains could see that there's no way a dead lass like you could be a homicidal demon. The idiots are lucky you're not me. If they treated me like that, I would have introduced them to the phrase self-fulfilling prophecy. Why you? Evidently, the Kyuubi is strong enough, that not just anyone can contain it. You need to have dense chakra, and a lot of it. Really only an Uzumaki or a Senju can do it without suffering from adverse effects. According to the legend that Hokage Jiken told me, the Rikudo Sennin gifted his eyes to his oldest son, who became the first Uchiha, and he gifted his body and chakra to his second son, who became the first Senju and also the ancestor of the Uzumaki. My descent from the sage is why I can safely contain the Kyuubi. Sasuke nodded. The family stories I've heard say that the Uchiha got our eyes from the Rikudo Sennin. They don't mention the Senju or Uzumaki, though. Don't worry, Naruto-chan, said Hinata. We don't hold the Kyuubi against you. We think it's great that you protect us from the Kyuubi. Right, Sasuke-kun? Sasuke nodded. Is there any benefit to being the container of a Baijuu? She nodded. It's a huge source of chakra that can be used with the right training. I've heard that some of the Baijuu give bloodline-like abilities to their containers. From what I understand, while my stamina, chakra, and healing are all high thanks to being an Uzumaki, they're further enhanced by being the Kyuubi's container. Is being the container the reason for your sudden change in appearance and getting the Byakugan? Sasuke asked. Not directly, she replied. Mizuki was one of those that thought I was the Kyuubi. He set me up to take the fall for a crime that he was committing, but some missing nin found out about it and kidnapped me so that they could take the Kyuubi from me, something that I understand is almost always fatal. While I was kidnapped, this weird creature named Zetsu thought that my chakra was like his mother's. He took off the chakra suppressors they had on me so that he could examine me. While he was examining me, I noticed that his chakra was a lot like mine, only it had a disgusting, evil feel to it. I tried to absorb and purify his chakra, which I was able to do. That's when my appearance changed and I got the Byakugan. How odd, said Hinata. Have you found out anything about this Zetsu or his mother? Not about Zetsu, but I have about his so-called mother, Otsutsuki Kaguya. While you two were passed out on the bridge in Nami, I accessed the Kyuubi's power to boost my own. Afterwards it talked to me and told me about Kaguya. She told them about Kaguya being the origin of chakra, her insanity and defeat by her sons, and transmigration. So you could be more powerful than the Kyuubi? Asked Sasuke. Naruto could tell his jealousy was starting to act up a little. She shook her head. I may have the potential to be that, but I'm pretty sure I would have to absorb all the Baijuu to do so. I'm a little scared to even try. I don't want to go crazy like Kaguya did. Plus, the Baijuu all have personalities, absorbing them would be like killing my stepchildren, I guess you could call them. I wouldn't want to do that unless they deserved it. But the Kyuubi killed dozens, if not hundreds, said Hinata. How could it not deserve it? What if they're all like that? When I talked to the Kyuubi, it seemed pretty reasonable, Naruto said. Sasuke snorted. Reasonable? The Kyuubi? Are you sure you aren't already going crazy? Naruto and Hinata both glared at the dark-haired boy. Maybe it was reasonable because I have a certain amount of leverage over it, but it also told me what happened on the day of my birth. She told them about her mother being the previous Jinchuriki, but kept her name and the fact that the fourth was her husband and Naruto's father a secret due to the Hokage's request. She told them about the masked man with the single Sharingan, which the Kyuubi had identified as being the twin to Kakashi's Sharingan. Sensei thinks that someone from Iwa took your cousin Obito-san's remaining eye, Sasuke-kun, and that was who did it, she said. Whoever it was, has been keeping a low profile. Sasuke looked furious. Sensei, why did you leave his body there? Didn't you know this would happen? Kakashi spoke from where he was leaning. Obito-kun was trapped under a large boulder, including half his face. We were in enemy territory and in a terrible rush and Obito-kun was moments away from dying. Rin-chan and I both thought that his other eye was crushed. In hindsight, it was a very poor decision, but that day was one horrible event after another. Neither Rin-chan nor I were thinking right. That day was one of the worst in my life, and I've had a bunch of really bad days. I was a 13-year-old Jounin leading my first mission. Incidents like that are why Konoha stopped promoting kids so rapidly. The group was silent for a moment before Naruto said, I have just two more things to mention. The Kyuubi identified one of my friends as a fellow transmigrant and said that I had run into a third, but it wasn't aware enough at the time I had contact with the other transmigrant to identify him. She paused. Sasuke, according to the Kyuubi, you're the transmigrant about Otsutsuki Indra, the first Uchiha. Sasuke and Hinata were both stunned. What does this mean for me? Asked Sasuke. It means that you're likely to be quite powerful, said Naruto. However, the Kyuubi implied that the reason that Indra and his brother Asura have had so many transmigrants is that they died with lots of regrets and unfinished business. You need to be careful not to repeat Indra's mistakes, just as I need to be careful not to repeat Kaguya's. Sasuke nodded. He looked both satisfied and contemplative. The other transmigrant is Asura's, isn't it? He asked. Naruto nodded. It's probably someone with Senju or Uzumaki blood, but with how many Senju married into other families, that doesn't narrow it down much. The last thing is. She paused. She was actually pretty nervous about how Sasuke would take the last announcement. Because Kaguya was the source of all the great Dujutsu, I ended up with a Sharingan, too. She sent more chakra to her eyes in order to open her third eye. The view in front of her sharpened accordingly. Sasuke stared at her and then closed his eyes. When he opened them, each of his eyes looked like her third eye, red with a dot in the center and a single, spinning tomoe circling it with the orbit of the tomoe being marked a thin circle. Sasuke was silent for several moments before giving a bark of laughter. You're the only person I know whose life might be worse than mine. It's only fitting that your karma balance out somehow. Naruto gave him a grateful smile. The three Genin were silent. Kakashi spoke, Naruto-chan has given you both lots to think about. I'll add that discussing what Naruto talked about with others is forbidden and leaking the information carries the death penalty, so please don't. We'll dismiss for the day and resume training tomorrow. Training resumed. In addition to elemental manipulation, the three Genin worked on weapons techniques. Sasuke worked on perfecting his wire techniques and started working on harder ones. Hinata got Haku to help her learn to throw senbon needles. She had an idea to charge the senbon with chakra to do remote gentle fist strikes. It seemed to work, but was more difficult due to the time it took the senbon to travel to the target, making hitting the tiny tenketsu harder. Kakashi introduced Naruto to bolas, but she had to work it out mostly herself using training manuals. The first time she managed to wrap herself up was embarrassing. Sasuke's self-satisfied smirk was worse than usual that day. After about a month, Hinata and Naruto were decent with their new weapons. Targeting with the bolas were more forgiving than senbon, so Naruto was better off with her new weapons. Sasuke was pleased with his advancement in wire techniques. Additionally, Kakashi trained Sasuke and Naruto in the use of the Sharingan. Both Genin had advanced their Sharingan to 2 tomoe. One morning Kakashi said, "If everything goes as I expect, we'll be leaving on a C-rank mission later today. You may know that the Chunin exams are coming up. I've decided to enter you. Normally, I'd let you think about this up until the day of the exam, but I need to know how you feel about the exams because of our potential mission." "I'm ready for them, sensei," exclaimed Naruto. "I welcome them," said Sasuke. The two looked at Hinata. She shuffled her feet a little. Finally, she said, "If you think we're ready, I'm willing, sensei." Kakashi told her, "This is about what you think, Hinata-chan, not me or even your teammates." She steeled herself and said, "I'll do it, sensei." Kakashi smiled with his eye. "Excellent. Our mission is to deliver the formal invitation for the exams to Daimyo-sama. This mission is always given to a team of promising young Genin that will be participating. Hokage-sama was going to give this mission to Gai-kun's team, but Gai-kun is a little overwhelming for Daimyo-sama's court. Hokage-sama is very pleased with your progress and thought that introducing the Uchiha and Hyuga heirs to the court would do Konoha good politically." Hinata and Sasuke nodded. Kakashi smiled again. "Good, then there's only one thing left to do. If we're going to court, Naruto needs a new outfit." Naruto looked down at her orange jumpsuit. She was about to protest, but stopped and sighed. Now that she had friends, she was not so starved for attention. Plus, she did not want to embarrass Hinata, Sasuke, or Konoha. "Okay, sensei." She turned to Hinata. "Can you help me pick out something, Hinata-chan?" "I'd be happy to, Naruto-chan," she said. Naruto hesitantly walked up to the bridge where her team normally met. Hinata was walking beside her and she could see that Sasuke and Kakashi were already there. She was wearing one of her new outfits, which was the reason for her nervousness. Sasuke looked up at them and his jaw dropped. "Dead last, you look like a girl." "I am a girl, jerk," she responded. Sasuke grunted. "I know that, idiot. You are normally so much of a tomboy, that if it weren't for your doll-like face, nobody could tell." She looked away. "It wasn't really safe to remind people I was a girl, so I always wore baggy clothing. Hinata-chan convinced me to wear form-fitting clothing because it was quieter." She glared at Hinata. "I don't think that's fair because she always hides her figure underneath that bulky jacket and she has the best figure of anyone in our class." Hinata turned crimson. "Naruto-chan, I'm not the stealth expert on our team," she hissed. Naruto smirked at her petty revenge. Naruto's new outfit was form-fitting and contoured without being tight. The tailoring had taken a small amount of extra time, but Hinata said it would cut down on rustling when she moved. Realistically, Naruto's feminine figure was just barely developing, but the new outfit made a stark contrast to the baggy jumpsuit she used to wear. She was wearing dark blue pants with a dark orange stripe up the side of each leg. She was wearing a dark green long-sleeve shirt. Over the shirt was a dark orange vest. The pants and vest together emphasized her hips, which she thought were starting to develop nicely, although showing them off was embarrassing. The vest also showed that she had a small bust. She was wearing a dark green belt with her leaf badge over the buckle. She had a black weapons holster on each thigh. Rather than pouches, she had pockets in her pants and vest. Her hair was still to her mid-back, but was gathered into a loose ponytail by two dark green bows, one at her neck and one near the end of the ponytail. She had opted for something that would be easy to undo so that she could use her hair as a weapon again, if she figured out how. Naruto thought the dark colors contrasted well with her pale coloring, but would also help her blend in when sneaking. She was glad that she had managed to get some orange in it, as she had become attached to the color, even if it wasn't the bright orange she had used up until now. Hinata had said that she would help her make a knit cap to cover her hair for sneaking. It had to be specially made due to her ear-like protrusions. "Looking good, Naruto-chan," Kakashi commented. The trip to the capital went smoothly. They jogged at a comfortable pace so that they wouldn't be too worn out when they got there. They had one overnight stopover. While Kakashi and Sasuke set up camp, Kakashi had Hinata teach Naruto how to bow properly and what kind of responses were appropriate for the likely scenarios they would encounter. "Under no circumstances are you to call Daimyo-sama Jiken, Naruto-chan," Kakashi commanded. The formal reception in front of the daimyo's court was boring. The only thing required of them was to present the list and to formally present themselves to the court. As they were leaving the audience, an attendant caught Kakashi's attention and motioned for them to follow him. The attendant led them to a smaller audience chamber. About 5 minutes after they arrived, 4 of the 12 ninja guardians arrived through another door. After the 4 took their places, the daimyo entered followed by 2 more of the 12. "Ah, Kakashi-san," said the daimyo, "I wanted to meet with you and your Jinan more privately. I usually don't do this, but your team has some of the bright, upcoming lights of Hai no Kuni, the Uchiha and Hyuga heirs and Uzumaki Naruto-kun." The daimyo sounded like he was mentally saying a different family name for her. He must know who her parents were. "Please give me a short description of your training accomplishments." The 3 Jinan each gave a brief description of what they had trained in. "So advanced," said the daimyo. "Advanced weapon skills and beginning elemental manipulation. I'm impressed and pleased, Kakashi-san. Konoha and Hai no Kuni are in good hands. I look forward to seeing you 3 compete." He looked at Naruto for a moment. "I see you have your mother's beauty, but it seems you have your father's temperament, which makes me happy. I had heard that you had your father's coloring. Was this in error?" "An accident with some missing nin, Daimyo-sama," she replied. The daimyo looked at Kakashi, who nodded. "Indeed?" The daimyo said, "I'll have to send to Hokage Dono to get a report on this. I'm glad that you escaped mostly unharmed. Your loss would be a tragedy for Hai no Kuni." Naruto bowed her thanks, the daimyo thanked them for coming and withdrew. Afterwards, Kakashi led them out of the city. As they were leaving the palace, Sasuke started to speak, but Kakashi silenced him with shake of his head. After they were a few kilometers from the city, Kakashi stopped them and they made camp. After the necessary things were done, Kakashi said, "I suppose you have some questions about what the daimyo said." "I've been thinking about what the daimyo said about Naruto-chan," said Sasuke. "He made it sound as if her parents were important. The only important blonde man I can think of besides Ino's dad is the F." "Stop," commanded Kakashi. "Naruto's parentage is an S-class secret. Please, don't utter any guesses." "Why did Daimyo-sama leave so many clues as to who they were, then?" asked Hinata. "Hokage-sama wanted to keep Naruto-chan's heritage a secret to protect her from her parents' enemies both within and without Konoha. Daimyo-sama favored letting people know, in order to raise morale after the Kyuubi attack, but keeping her under heavy guard. Although Hokage-sama reports to Daimyo-sama, he has a lot of independence where Konoha's internal affairs are concerned." Daimyo-sama conceded to Hokage-sama's plan reluctantly. This was his way of pointing Naruto-chan in the right way if she didn't know already, as a form of petty vengeance. Naruto pouted. "I can kind of see Jiken's point in keeping my parentage a secret, although it did stink that everyone said I was the kid of a criminal or prostitute. I think he should have told me though. I get the sense that he only told me about my mother due to the kidnapping. I had to find out who my father was from the Kyuubi, of all people." She looked at Kakashi. "Hokage Jiken told me I act a lot like my mother. Why did the daimyo say I acted like my father?" Kakashi laughed. "The first time your mother met the daimyo, she threatened to rip out his intestines and feed them to him for not sending enough aid to save Uzushio and Uzu no Kuni. She was young and important for being the new Jinchuriki, and Daimyo-sama was somewhat sympathetic, so he let it go. Your father was given to cold rages when mad, while your mother was very hot-blooded. The fact that you were polite made a good first impression on him." The trip back was uneventful. During the debriefing, the Hokage commanded the Genin to not mention anything the daimyo said about Naruto's parents and to keep any speculation of Naruto's heritage silent. He then asked Kakashi to remain behind and dismissed the Genin. As they were leaving the tower, Naruto asked, "Want to get something to eat?" "Sure," said Sasuke, "as long as it's not ramen." Naruto pouted while Hinata giggled and Sasuke smirked. As they walked, Naruto noticed a square box with eye holes following them. She didn't even need to use her Byakugan to know who it was. She decided to ignore it. Both Hinata and Sasuke signed, "Box?" "Kids play." "Ignore," she responded. They had a nice lunch at an udon stand, although she would have preferred ramen. When they left, the box was waiting for them. Naruto sighed. "Come on out, Kono-chan," she said. The box was tossed up and smoke billowed forth. "Too much gunpowder," a kid's voice whined. As the smoke dissipated, Konohamaru said, "I'm Konohamaru, the next Hokage." A girl his age with orange hair tied in two fat pigtails that stuck up from her head at angles said, "I'm Moigi, the sassiest young kunoichi." A dark-haired boy with glasses and a dripping nose said, "I'm Udon. I like algebra." Together, we are the Konohamaru Corps. They all said. All of them were wearing goggles similar to the ones Naruto used to wear. She had not seen them since before she left for Nami no Kuni. "Boss," said Konohamaru, "don't call me Chan. I'm not a little kid." Naruto snorted. "When you stop acting like a little kid, I'll stop treating you like one." That disguise was pathetic. The loud one is Asura's transmigrant, a deep voice growled from within her. "What?" she yelled. "Simply think at me, stepmother," the voice sneered. "You don't have to speak to me aloud." "Kyubi?" "I wasn't serious about the stepmother comment," she replied. The Kyubi cackled. "Just because we're partners doesn't mean I can't torment you. Your friends are probably wondering what's going on." The Kyubi's mental voice dripped sarcasm, especially when it uttered the word friends. When she looked around at her friends, they were all staring at her, Sasuke with amusement, Hinata and the others with concern. "Sorry, just had a bad flashback," she said while signing to her teammates, "explanations later." "Boss," exclaimed Konohamaru. "How come you look like a girl?" "I've always been a girl, Kono-chan," she said irritatedly. "I know that, boss lady, but you've always been a tomboy. Is it because of him?" He pointed at Sasuke. "Is he your boyfriend?" Sasuke and Naruto looked at each other. Sasuke turned away and grunted. "Like I'd date the dead last." Naruto yelled, "No way," and made barfing noises. "I knew it." Konohamaru crowed. "They're protesting way too much for it not to be true." Naruto stopped and glared at Konohamaru. "This is why I didn't want to give up my jumpsuit," she thought to herself. She spared Hinata a withering look before turning back to Konohamaru. "Run!" she growled. Her hair started to come loose from its bows. Konohamaru stopped cackling and said, "What?" "I'd run if I were you, Kono-chan," she said as she took a menacing step forward. She activated her Byakugan to look more intimidating. She saw that her hair had started to clump into 10 segments as it writhed. She throttled her anger back a little, since she only wanted to scare him, but her hair kept moving. "Scary." Konohamaru whimpered before turning and running. Moigi and Udon raced after him. She cackled and gave chase. Her anger dissipated as she chased them. She dismissed her Byakugan as she didn't need it and didn't want to alarm any Anbu watching them. Before she turned it off, she saw that Hinata and Sasuke were following her. The chase led them first into a residential area and then the main market area. She turned a corner to see Konohamaru being held by a boy in a black jumpsuit. The boy had purple markings on his face and was wearing a hood with ears and was carrying a bandage-wrapped bundle on his back. He had a sand badge on his hood. Next to him was a blonde girl in a light purple outfit. Her hair was gathered in 4 spiky pigtails. A sand badge hung around her neck and she had a large folded fan on her back. "Stupid brat," said the boy. "I'll teach you to run into me." He cocked his fist back in preparation to hit Konohamaru. "Just let the kid go, Kankuro-kun," said the girl. "It's not worth causing a ruckus over." "Got to teach the brat to respect his betters, Tamari-chan," the boy responded. "If you get us kicked out," she replied. "It's just a brat." "I'd listen to your teammate, Suna-nin," Naruto called out. "I'm just going to teach the brat some manners, Konoha-nin," he sneered. "You want a piece of me too?" "I'd say to save it for the exams, Suna-nin," she said, "but you're obviously too stupid to make it that far." Why, you, yelled Kankuro as he started to remove the bundle from his back. Konohamaru took the opportunity to scamper away. By this time Sasuke and Hinata had caught up and were bracketing her. Naruto turned to the girl and bowed. Temari-san, my name is Naruto. I suggest you control your teammate before he has you expelled from the village for assaulting the Hokage's grandson. Temari turned to her teammate and smacked him in the back of the head. Idiot, are you trying to get us killed? Just to rub it in, Naruto added with a smirk, I can also suggest some traps to keep him out of your makeup. It's face paint, he yelled. Temari chuckled. I apologize for my little brother. He was dropped a few too many times as a kid. Temari. Kankuro growled. There's another one in the tree, Hinata said quietly. All 5 of them looked at the tree. A red-headed boy was standing on a branch. Kankuro and Temari paled. The redhead had the kanji for love in red above his left eye and dark circles around his eye. He was dressed in a black jumpsuit and had a large gourd held on his back through an arrangement of leather straps. He flickered down to stand beside Kankuro. Kankuro, you are a disgrace. Behave or I'll kill you, the redhead said in a creepy monotone. Yes, Gaara-san, said the hooded boy. Gaara turned and looked at the 3 Konoha. He seemed to dismiss Hinata and Sasuke, but stared at Naruto before smiling in a sinister manner. Are you participating in the Chunin exams? He asked. Yes, she responded tersely, not liking the way he looked at her. Perhaps you will validate my existence, he said. He turned and walked off calling, Temari, Kankuro, come. The red-headed monkey is the container of another of your stepchildren, the Ichibi no Tanuki, the Kyuubi said. Wonderful, she responded. Dear YouTube family. This concludes the first part of our series. Please subscribe to my channel for upcoming content. Thank you for your support.